And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the HAGMANN Report for today. It's Friday, November 30th, 2012. I'm Doug HAGMANN. With me is my co-host, Joe HAGMANN. We're a father-son team. Together we are the HAGMANN and HAGMANN Report. Folks, you're about to hear 3 hours of unbiased, uncensored news and analysis. This is information, folks, that we need to look at together. Kind of consider this a round-table discussion. Let's analyze this news. Let's analyze what we're seeing here together. Let's spend 3 hours and learn something tonight. All of us, we can learn some things. Joe, welcome to tonight's program.
Glad to be here, and it's good to see that you are still upright. You had an extraordinary long day.
Yeah, it was a long day, but you know what? We'll get through the rest of today as well. But folks, you can find us. We broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can find us on the internet at HomelandSecurityUS.com. And once again, we thank our colleagues to the north, CanadaFreePress.com, for everything they do for supporting and getting the truth out. Joe, today you heard something about Glenn Beck talking about Judy McLeod's Agenda 21 article.
Yeah, it was funny. I just went out to move my car out of the driveway, and I heard him mention in that short time Judy McLeod's Agenda 21 article, and he said something how Canada has a better grip on what's going on than, or at least Canada Free Press, their site has a better grip of what's going on than most of the media in the United States.
You know, one thing I noticed about this, and I find this really interesting. There's a blackout. For example, a lot of news forums will reprint articles from different news sites. Canada Free Press is a news site. And news or forums, discussion forums, whether they're political or, I don't know, maybe you can even classify them as survival or whatever, they will reprint news from various internet sites. I mean, obviously Reuters and AP, and even some of the smaller internet blog sites. Now, by the way, we don't consider HomelandSecurityUS.com a blog site. It's an investigative news reporting site, but I guess we're classified as a blog. But nonetheless, it's amazing for me to see how many of the American Western, I should say, not just American, but Western forums will reject the content of whether it's HomelandSecurityUS.com or Canada Free Press. I've seen Canada Free Press assailed despite their rigid editorial standards. It got me thinking, and that's a dangerous thing when I start to really think, but it got me thinking that, it seems like there's a blackout agenda behind that. And when you start talking about Agenda 21, and you start talking about other things that are pretty deep, there are people that come out of the woodwork and say, "Well, you're a fringe site. You're crazy." Even with Agenda 21, even with what's published in open source, you're still crazy. So, man, I just wanted to mention that. And the other thing I wanted to mention before we get into some hard news. There was a gentleman that called last night and was talking about the very symbology. I believe it was on, at least he was talking about the symbology on the symbols and symbology on money. At least that's what I understood. I did not have a chance to listen to the replay. Mm-hmm. I happened to listen to today while I was out in the field, and from Tom Horn, the author of Petrus Romanus, which is the final pope. And he made some interesting observations. And of course, folks, I'm sure this is not new to any of you or most of the majority of you. But the symbology with respect to the seal of the United States, the prophecy encoded on our seal. Now, you might think, oh man, here we go. We're off to the races. But some of the confluence, I suppose, of prophecy. You're talking about prophecy hitting us from the Mayans. Whether or not you believe it, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's there. Prophecy from the Zohar, prophecy even from the Bible, and we're seeing all sorts in other places, and seeing these various paganistic symbols and on the Great Seal, which also is on money, and such, and looking back through Roosevelt and Wallace, their paganistic type things, and of course, when you consider Osiris and Isis and we will do a show on this. In fact, I've got an invitation extended to Tom Horn himself to come on.
Yeah, I want to see that DVD, the lecture you watched. I did not have a chance to watch that, so I don't have as much information as you. But this is something
it struck me as funny because of the call last night.
Yeah, and I don't know where the book is, Stan Deo's book, Cosmic Conspiracy, but it is in that book also where they talk about the seal and the Great Pyramid, what's on the back of the dollar bill.
Right, and how Washington is set up. And folks, I know you've heard that. Look, I mean, it's almost like preaching to the choir, but I had, my aha moment, a couple of them today, thinking, wow, and I sensed that's what that last year during that conversation, or at least part of it, and I just thought it was kind of interesting timing.
The open symbology on just about everything.
Yeah,
government.
And see, you know what? That's really the twisted thing about everything. It's all out in the open. So people would say, well, it can't be a conspiracy, or it can't be paganistic, or it can't be satanic, or it can't be Luciferian, or it can't be evil. It's out in the open. It's right there. Well, yeah, it can be. Mm-hmm. But I just, I don't know. Just to me, looking at that, and I know before we get into the news, I just want to mention that, and just the weight of that information. And 2012 has some significance in numerology, and it's it's kind of like we talk about. They believe that the Imam Mahdi is going to come in the Cali, their savior, their Messiah is going to be ushered in. And it's ushered.
Well, you can just go to the UN's website and read from the Lucius Trust parts where they talk about this. It'll be the coming world teacher.
Well, yes, and that's the globalistic or globalist Messiah, as opposed to, we'll say, the Islamic Messiah. And people, and I was like this as well. Well, I don't believe that. Well, see, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what they believe. And that's the key here. And it really can't, I understand that concept, but I guess to hear it in a certain order, by certain people, explained a certain way, with certain visual cues and such, it kind of hits you right between the eyes, and you think, wow, why didn't I see this before? So there's so much to learn. But 2012 is an important year in terms of a lot of prophetic alliances. Like I said, the Zohar.
I don't even know what that is.
It's a 700-year-old Jewish text. Okay, and
what does it contain? Anything from the Bible? Anything from?
For me to explain it, I suppose I could look it up right now. I heard it explained, or heard exactly what it was, and I'm sure somebody in the chat room will probably be quicker than I am to explain it. But in addition, oh, by the way, in addition to that, I mean, I learned some new words. I learned some.
Obviously, I'm sitting here wondering what you're talking about.
And okay, the Zohar, for example, here, according to Wikipedia, it's a foundational work in the literature of Jewish mystical thought known as the Kabbalah. All right, you've heard of that, the Kabbalah, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's a group of books including commentary on the mystical aspects of the Torah. So that's what the Zohar is, but that contains a prophecy that's some I think Tom Horn said 700, 800, 900 years, I don't know, a long time, about an end of an age and about spiritual leaders coming in, but to watch the lecture, Petrus Romanus is a book, once again, by Thomas Horn. With that book, they furnish a DVD. It's got just a ton of investigative documents that support the book, and that's what really got me, plus a couple of audio video lectures. And in fact, Steve Quayle's on there as well. But I guess I said that. I guess I mentioned that just to say this: there's so much more out there that we have to look at, we have to consider. Again, not from our point of view, but from other people's point of view. It's not what's important, what we believe. It's what's important. What is important is what. For example, if you want to know your enemy, you would do well to know what they believe. And in this case, our enemy is the occult, the pagans, the evil. The very anyone or whatever, but I just wanted to make sure that I got that out before I really forgot, until we got there, before we got too far into the program. So I do highly recommend Petrus Romanus by Thomas Horn, and if you can find the package that's got the DVD with it as well, good thing to grab. So with that, Joe, and I know there's just a ton of news tonight. Wow. Thank you
for the financial news.
Benghazi. Okay, but
somebody said that you were referenced somewhere. Your article was referenced, and they called you David HAGMANN, and I don't know who that was. What one of your Benghazi articles?
Well, I was called Larry HAGMANN, and he just passed away. And a
lot of people call you Larry.
It's David, Larry. But I've been called a lot worse, so it doesn't really matter. Look, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's John Smith. Let's just get the information out there.
We hit a new high with the debt figures on government spending and debt. The national debt has hit a new all-time high, and also study American households hit a 43-year low in net worth. The median net worth of American households has dropped to a 43-year low, and the middle class appear poorer and less stable than they have since 1969.
Folks, is that on your... I mean, obviously the economy is on our minds. Where would you rate that in your concerns? I'm interested to hear from our audience members. Joe, I mean, where do you rate that?
The economy?
Yeah, the economy.
The economy, I mean, there's three really important issues, and I guess it grouped together, a few other issues, but one, the economy, the police state, and then the spiritual and freedoms and spiritual freedoms that we have here.
Right.
Freedom in general, but most importantly, spiritual freedoms. Those three categories. And I guess the police state and freedom could go hand in hand, but the economy and our freedoms are the two most important issues. And there are the indicators. You see our freedoms taken away. You see the rights in the Constitution taken away.
Right.
You see the economy imploding. The dollar is worthless. And here, this story here, a school orders child to remove God from a poem. It's out of North Carolina. A 6-year-old girl was ordered to remove the word God from a poem that she was supposed to be reading during a Veterans Day ceremony. She was a first grader at West Marion Elementary School. She was supposed to read the poem during the school assembly, making Veterans Day. The poem honored her two grandfathers who had served during the Vietnam War. He prayed to God for peace. He prayed to God for strength, the poem read. A parent found out about the poem and expressed concern about mentioning the word God during a school event. The parent did not want the Almighty's name mentioned anywhere in the program, according to one account. We want to make sure we are upholding the school district's responsibility of separation of church and state from the Establishment Clause.
That's a fallacious argument, by the way. The separation of church and state that's not what.
This is Gary Martin.
You know that. That separation of church and state is to protect religious freedom, not
right.
not the state. Wow.
No, they're not. It's not supposed to keep religion out of the public.
Correct.
It's supposed to keep the people's freedoms to speak their mind about religion, no matter what religion it is.
But here again, you've got the progressive, socialist, communist elements twisting that around.
And we do have a good story on the flip side where a sheriff has become an internet sensation for protecting some people's First Amendment rights. And this is odd. I've seen this in the last couple of days. There was a story out of New York City on Monday. There were no gunshots or stabbings in New York City on Monday, and it was, I think it was on Drudge. It said,
wow,
surprise, or it was when it makes a story when your city doesn't have a violence for that night, that makes big news. I mean, you can see the problems, and here it makes big news when people are upholding the law, when people are doing good things. Did you hear about that cop?
Yes.
Gave the homeless guy
the boots. Yes,
I mean,
and I think that's wonderful.
Things like that making huge news. You know, we live in a morally bankrupt society because that should be everywhere. That should be happening all over the place. It shouldn't be a rare occurrence.
Well, especially when we live and there was just a poll done, and it was CBS News, I believe. 51% support homosexual marriage. I'm not even going to say same-sex marriage. I'm going to say homosexual marriage. And so you've got over half the population now, at least half of the population polled here, and there is no indication of any type of improper balance of the demographics. Over half of the people support homosexual marriage. Now, tell me that we haven't crossed some sort of threshold with that. So you're right. You've got the police officer.
And I have the audio uploaded with two different news reports. Whenever we'll go to that a little bit later.
Concerning what?
The sheriff upholding the First Amendment rights of people at Albany's airport who are passing out literature on opt-out week for the TSA.
You know what? I think let's do that now. That to me is important. So the backstory here, TSA opt-out week. You get some people passing out the InfoWars literature, I'm sure.
This was Jason Burmis, who appears to be the person handing out literature with another woman, and
so somebody complained.
Head of the airport guy, the head of the airport or whatever.
Yeah, airports
demanded ID and all this stuff. Told them they were violating the law, and the sheriff steps in and says they're not violating the law. They have every right to do what they're doing.
All right, let's hear it.
Can't do nothing about it.
Let's hear it.
Fallout from that video at Albany Airport that's gone viral. Albany County leaders speak out on the constitutional confrontation. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm News 10's Elisa Streeter.
And I'm Mark Baker. This video behind us has caused quite a commotion. An Albany airport official has come under fire for trying to silence a couple of activists.
And now there are calls for answers. It is tonight's top story. News 10's Anya Tucker live at the airport with the latest. Anya.
The Albany County Executive Dan McCoy tonight asking that those who run the Albany International Airport look into what happened last Friday on the 23rd in what has become a PR disaster for the PR director of the airport. The Friday, November 23rd incident taped by the activists themselves while they were passing out flyers trying to educate passengers about their right to opt out of the TSA's full-body scanners. That's when airport spokesman Doug Myers enters the scene, demanding that the pair turn off their camera. Myers appears shocked when a deputy working at the airport refuses to detain the two downstairs.
Stay down here for a while. Keep them down. But
can't do it.
I can't really keep down here.
But Myers doesn't stop there, telling the pair that they have to hand him their IDs.
He doesn't have to show you his identification.
Yeah, I'll tell you
show you
right
identification. I want his name.
I just told you
my name's okay.
My name
he told you his name.
Jason Berman.
I can't give it. I can't give you that. I can't give you that.
News 10's Facebook page lit up today. Applause for the deputy and condemnation of Myers, saying shame on him that he overreacted, acting, quote, like a bully. One person even suggesting that Myers be fired. The county executive, Dan McCoy, releasing his own statement, saying he has been in touch with Myers' boss, CEO John O'Donnell, regarding the incident, and that he is, quote, concerned about the rights, privacy, and safety of anyone who travels through Albany County, hoping that the airport authority will look into the matter and act appropriately.
It's unfortunate. You know, something just went wrong.
Albany County legislator Mary Lou Connolly has been with the airport committee since 1993. She believes Myers will not lose his job over the incident.
It's unfortunate. It's embarrassing. It happened, but let's get over it. And these folks are welcome to go back to the airport.
My calls to Doug Myers went unreturned today. As for calls to his boss, CEO John O'Donnell, his secretary called me and told me that he would not be making any comments about the matter today.
The YouTube video going viral, posted on the internet by two activists who brought a camera into the Albany International Airport while they passed out flyers. Now, it led to a heated dispute over First Amendment rights. Beth Wortman has our top story. Beth?
Hi, Benita. Well, as you'll see in the video clip, an airport spokesman tries to stop these activists from their mission, but a sheriff's deputy steps in to settle the confrontation and the right to free speech.
So, hey everyone, this is Ashley Jessica. I am here at Albany International Airport.
The young woman is standing outside the security checkpoint at the airport, telling the camera that she's there to hand out flyers to travelers, reminding them of their right to opt out of getting the body scan, which she claims carries health risks.
Okay. Hold on. First of all, turn this off right away.
Airport spokesman Doug Myers tells the crew to stop videotaping and to go downstairs, which they agree to do, and they are confronted again.
You have $1 million insurance policy. You're violating the airport authority guidelines. You haven't paid. That doesn't matter to us at all, okay? You can check that out. No, you're in our airport.
But as the tension builds, Sheriff's Deputy Stan Lennox steps in, separating the two parties, then lays down the law.
Obviously, this is your constitutional right, okay? As far as we're concerned, you're not breaking any laws, okay? That's what we want to get across to you guys.
Myers objects, ordering airport employees to allow only ticketed passengers upstairs, accusing the activists of blocking the escalator. But once again, Deputy Lennox defends their First Amendment rights.
Okay, we don't know who you are.
I told you who I am. I am Jason Berman.
Let me see your identification.
I don't need to show you my
identification. He doesn't have to show you his identification.
The activists continue their mission. The video later posted to YouTube and goes viral. Not the kind of attention Deputy Lennox is used to.
That's a little overwhelming. I was doing my job. I did the right thing. I felt I did the right thing, protecting people's First Amendment rights.
And Albany International Airport CEO John O'Donnell issued a statement this afternoon defending the authority's policy, saying, quote, filing a simple form and providing advance notice of their arrival are all that is required. And we would welcome them back to the airport to distribute their information. Doug Myers had no comment.
Actually, he doesn't have a comment.
And like you said, as the new report refers to the people as activists.
Yeah.
They're not activists. They're doing something to let people get informed about their rights, trying to help them be informed about their rights.
Giddy up, people. Here we go. I'm ready because you're right.
In the first report, the lady said something went terribly wrong.
No, it didn't. Well, yeah, it did go wrong.
Yeah, it was their head of security or whatever that guy was. I do have their information here. It's posted on a YouTube video.
Well, see, okay. And I think this is the perfect example of what we all need to do. And see if this was a perfect storm handled perfectly by the county sheriff, the deputy sheriff.
Yeah, this was Albany Airport's PR director, Doug Myers. He was the one giving them a hard time.
Shame on that name, Doug. I wish it wasn't that, but okay.
And he was saying that these people should be detained or removed for handing out flyers warning travelers about the dangers of opt-out and film campaign.
Well, okay. So number one, I have a problem with the term activist being associated with these people, with the two young people handing out the literature. They're not activists. They're proponents of the.
And no, you're right. And that was from News 10 and News 13 out of Albany.
Well, okay, yeah, and see, activist to me is they're trying to pollute the story. It's a pejorative term, pejorative label for people just doing. I mean, imagine George Washington, the founding fathers, activists. Well, I suppose by definition that's correct, but we know today the pejorative nature or the pejorative terms that are used for people. Look, if they were handing out Planned Parenthood information, would they be activists?
They'd have cops protection. You know what I mean? They'd have the TSA protecting these people.
Exactly. So, so number one, they're not activists. So, however, that aside, I think it's a grand victory for our cause, because it shows, as I said before, the vulnerability. The TSA is the most vulnerable and visible aspect of the DHS, and certainly the most violating.
Visible, yes.
Visible, vulnerable, and violate.
I don't know if they're that vulnerable. I mean, for people who, the whole DHS police state system, for people who know their rights and are not afraid to exercise them, on a good day, I guess, because it depends on who you run into also. They back down for the most part. You can go on YouTube and look at the hundreds of examples of people going through checkpoints who know their rights, people who are getting their kids taken away who know their rights and talk the cops out of letting them go. I mean, but you put pressure on these people from a law.
There's no constitutional protection for these people. There's no law that protects the TSA agents. They are not police officers. They are not commissioned law enforcement officers. And see, they act like law enforcement officers, yet they are not. But people put them in that same category. They aren't even security guards. Security guards. Okay.
They police officers go through different types of training, gun training,
right? Act 120 in Pennsylvania, for example.
The TSA goes through like a quick a week
on the job,
some kind of training. Yeah. Nothing like a standard law enforcement officer would go through at all. Not even a quarter of the qualifications. Obviously, they're higher felons, child molesters, just about anybody who walks in.
Their background checks only go back a certain period of time. I think it's 10 years. Yes, and you could have a felony in your background 15 years ago of child molestation and be hired by the TSA.
I mean, go look up
be within their realm. Or
go look up the story about the ex-priest who was accused of sexual molestation many times in the church, who was hired by the TSA.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but
the
only way to combat it is to do what they were doing and to exercise your rights, to know your rights, because, I mean, without that, you're being herded around, being told what to do. And I'm going to tie this into this article here out of Market Watch. I couldn't believe it when I read this. Market Watch is saying that if they could wipe the flu out, if people would all just get flu shots. Despite a decade-long public health campaign, just over 40% of Americans get the flu shot annually, a number that hasn't budged in years. But research suggests that if twice as many people get them annually, the flu could be all but eradicated. So they're saying, doctors and scientists say 80% vaccination rate is the magic number for flu immunizations. If reached, it could significantly reduce outbreaks or even wipe the virus out entirely.
Where's the science behind that?
Right. And what about the other 20% who aren't receiving a flu shot? But this is just shocking to me that they would come out and say this, despite all the evidence we have that shows what different problems people get with the flu shots. Many times they get the flu from flu shots, not including all the other ingredients that we don't even know what they are half the time in these shots. We saw the people who were in Cincinnati, 150 employees fired for not receiving a flu shot, when the simple logic of it is, if you get a flu shot, you should be protected according to what they say from the flu. So why should you worry about someone else not having a flu shot?
That's a good point, and we really need to do some research on that company and find out what the basis is for that. I'm surprised that no one has come to the aid of the people who are fired or come to the legal aid.
Yeah, I mean, this
saying, hey,
a forced flu shot. I mean, they hold your job as leverage.
Now, look, I do understand, for example, the right to work states, which
what's that?
Well, Pennsylvania is a right to work state, which means that it also gives you the right to be fired. Okay, without necessarily or let go. I shouldn't say fired. Let go without cause or without certain cause.
I've never heard of the right to work.
Well, it's a human resources type term, and I don't even like the phrase human resources for obvious reasons, but it's just it's a classification of the state with certain laws that say, okay, if you work for a company, they can kind of tell you what to do and fire you for not doing it. Now, I do believe that there somewhere, somehow, there's got to be some sort of barrier that says, if you don't take vitamin C, for example, it's got to stop. I mean,
you see it happening with the vaccines here. You see what they're doing with Obamacare. That's mandatory for every American citizen.
Well, of course, that's the law of the land.
If they can do it with Obamacare, like the example I like to use is, pretty soon, who's to say they can't force you from going on welfare? And if you don't have welfare, paying a tax or a penalty at the end of the year, or if you don't have a Chevy Volt, who's to say that they won't tax you? Or put a penalty on that, as they call it, penalty.
Yeah, I could. Well, or the other way of putting it would be to tax you according to the gas mileage, and to a large extent, where that's already taking place through gas taxes and other means. But
you didn't see this one article today, I don't think, where you were talking about gas. They said, where is it? I'll find it. There's a new fuel that the EPA says can't be released because it will destroy cars. I'll find that out.
Well, that's what ethanol is doing with small engines, and if you've got a generator, this is just one example, or even a lawnmower, certain types of lawnmowers, they say, look, the percentage of ethanol in the fuel that you use, it'll gum up the engine, so you have to offset that or buy fuel without ethanol, and there are stations that sell fuel without ethanol.
I've never seen one.
Well, I never heard of it until I read this. It was in our newspaper a couple of days ago, or maybe a week ago now, about stations that don't sell or that sell gas without ethanol. I don't know. However, it's regional. I know that in California you have certain blends of gasoline, but it all comes with ethanol. It comes down to money. We did a large investigation in the spring about the cost or price of gasoline. I shouldn't say cost, but price of gasoline.
Here it is.
All right.
AAA urges EPA to halt approval for E15 for vehicles. AAA, the nation's largest travel organization, on Friday urged the Obama administration to halt the sale of E15, a new fuel with a higher blend of ethanol, because of the possible engine damage to most vehicles on the nation's roads. AAA, which has 53 million members, said it has found in a new survey a strong likelihood of consumer confusion and potential for voided warranties and vehicle damage as a result of Environmental Protection Agency's recent approval of the new E15 gasoline for 2001 vehicles or newer. So what we have now,
Jackson from the EPA, I'm sure, has got.
What we have now is 10% alcohol, which are corn additives, and now they want to bump it up to dilute the gasoline even more to 15. So I guess if they're seeing such great damage from 15% ethanol and gas, what's the difference between 15% and 10% that does to your car?
5%.
But so no, you're only talking about 15%, and they're saying it's ruining cars. Well 10% would do the same thing, just at a slower rate.
And it's interesting because
can we sue the EPA when cars break down, depending on the problem?
Good point. But you know, it's interesting from a refinery point of view. They are made to. There's a certain type of ethanol, and I think it's cellulose ethanol, which they are required to blend in with the gasoline. But there's a problem with that. No one makes it. No one manufactures that particular type of ethanol. Nobody in the United States. So what the refineries have to do is because they're acting against the EPA regulations, they've got to go back to the EPA, pay for a waiver.
You told me that. It doesn't even exist.
It doesn't exist. So they've got to pay for a waiver, so they don't have to to use this cellulose ethanol that doesn't exist. No one manufactures it, so they've got to pay for a waiver to opt out of this.
Yeah.
So the EPA is. I mean, how insane is this?
That's pretty crazy.
And people say, well, it's the big bad oil companies. All right, there are certain aspects of the oil companies that
are
I
terrible.
agree. Yes, but think about that. Let's say you owned a business and let's say you sold water, water, and you had to add I don't know, for every gallon you had to add a cup of magic prairie water. Okay, but hey, the EPA says, look, or the small business or whatever licensing authority for that allows you, or that has you selling the water, says you got to do this, but they don't make it, so you've got to buy waivers to opt out of it.
Yeah,
that's what we're dealing with. I guess I didn't need to do that in an analogy, but you know what I'm talking about.
They say only 12 million out of the 240 million vehicles on the road will approve this gasoline. General Motors and Ford have approved the use of the fuel. Chrysler said this week that it doesn't approve. It is clear millions of Americans are unfamiliar with E15, which means there is a strong possibility that many motorists may improperly fill their gasoline tank up and damage their vehicle. And it says bringing E15 to the market without adequate safeguards does not responsibly meet the needs of customers. That, according to the CEO of AAA, Robert Darren Bennett. And it goes on to say that 5 manufacturers, BMW, Chrysler, Nissan, Toyota, and Volkswagen, are on record saying their warranties will not cover fuel-related claims caused by the use of E15. 7 additional automakers, Ford, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Mazda, Mercedes-Benz, and Volvo, said E15 does not comply with fuel requirements specified in their owner's manuals, and they void warranty coverage.
So, oh man, what a mess! I do, folks, and you can type in the chat room if you remember this or not. I do remember when the unleaded first came out. They had to, so you didn't mix up the gas. Remember the different size nozzles? Okay, so, yeah, like the leaded wouldn't fit the unleaded, or vice versa. I don't remember how it was, but they had different size nozzles, so you wouldn't mistakenly fill your car up with the improper, with leaded or unleaded. But going even further back than that, I remember the choices you had was regular or high test. Remember that?
The biggest change I've ever seen at a gas pump was when we were working in New York City, and some of the gas pumps would have TVs on top of the gas pumps. That's the biggest change I've seen throughout my life, besides the prices.
Oh yeah, besides the prices.
Yeah.
But all of this, where are we going with all this? And I'll tell you where we're going with all of this. It goes back to the same philosophy. This administration, as the past, and I'm not going to give George Bush a pass whatsoever. Or George H.W. Bush, no. Or Clinton, no. I'm not going to give those people a pass.
Did you see
all about control?
What French socialist said? We're doing what Obama does.
Isn't that something? Now, is that something to be proud of, or is that something to be
something to be scared of?
That's what I thought.
Or that's something to be, no, I shouldn't say afraid. That's something to be concerned about. It's something to look at and say, well, you have one of the biggest socialist presidents in France.
Oh, thank you. Green stamps. I remember when I was young, my mother would make me put the green stamps in the books Folks, you remember those days?
What are green stamps?
Oh, come on, man.
I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have to do that. Was my job, and then we'd take the books of green stamps. Of course, every time you went to the grocery store, really quick, a history lesson for your experience for you. When you went to the grocery store, S&H green stamps, okay? Was it S&H or, yeah, S&H, and there's another one too, but S&H was a big one. You go to the grocery store, and you know how if you go to Walmart and you buy maybe 3 items and your receipt is like 6 feet long because you know, all right. Well, back when you actually had to press buttons, you know, with numbers that had numbers on them, and people actually had to think, you know, this is like right after the abacus, and right before the calculator, in between there, but.
So before electricity and
yeah, and oh yeah, the dial that I remember that dial. Okay, so here's the bottom line: if you bought, I don't know, we'll say $20 of the groceries, and back then that was a lot. You know, that was a shopping cart full of groceries.
Right.
They would give you a certain amount, a percentage in green stamps, which were these little, just like I said, green stamps. They're like postage stamp size, but they're green. And you would have these books, and you would fill up your books with these stamps, and then you would take the stamps in and redeem them in for merchandise.
Okay.
All right, at green stamp stores. And I remember going to green stamp stores, and you know, those were the days. Not that we're dating ourselves here, but yes. But see. Okay. Whereas this can go off in a number of different directions, the technology aspects of things, but one of the biggest things is about the control and the conditioning of the American public.
Absolutely right. It is, and then we see it everywhere with the police-style checkpoints in the airports and the roads and sports stadiums, and just when talking about waste and technology here, another solar firm. Got $26 million in miscellaneous loans, is bankrupt. Another, I mean, this is like number 200?
Yes. Now, see, okay. And folks, and if you guys are going to have to help me out with this.
If you do research on these solar companies, like I said, you will see, and the big one everybody remembers is Solyndra. There were people on the board of Solyndra that went on to be CEOs or on the boards of all these other solar companies. It all ties back to Solyndra. And it even ties back to, what was her name?
Her name.
The lady who was burned up in her garage after allegedly getting Turton or
yes,
Turton.
Ashley Turton. Remember that, folks?
Rahm Emanuel and the energy connection.
Okay.
But if you dig deep enough, you'll find the connections.
All right.
But this solar stuff was just a big extortion or looting of taxpayer dollars.
Oh, yeah.
And if you put it all together, all the solar firms, all the money together, and where it came from, all of it came from loans made by the government or the Federal Reserve to these solar companies. All of these companies have gone bankrupt, and there's billions of dollars missing. I mean, what did they do? It's just, where'd the money go?
Okay, now, when you say billions of dollars missing, there's a couple of different ways. There's subsidies.
Well, Solyndra got $700 million, and that was one company. There was other companies that got hundreds of millions of dollars. Nancy Pelosi's brother-in-law or whatever.
Right.
Brother-in-law got $150-some million loan for that company that went bankrupt.
That's correct.
It's a continual pattern here. You giving out billions of dollars of taxpayer money, and here a commenter makes a good choice. He says $400 billion a year or less is what they're spending on investing and securing our energy future. But this is just the solar companies, and you see these things go bankrupt. And that report on Iron Mountain, it talks about their setting up a government that does this intentionally, that wastes the money intentionally through all these wasteful programs. And it's just so accurate of a picture from that report back then to what's happening now. Because we see all these extra government agencies and non-governmental agencies getting free money, no interest loans, but okay, and it's all going up in smoke. I mean, where we see this stuff that comes out in the news reports, $2 million to study if there's or rocks at the bottom of the ocean floor. I mean, just the ridiculous. What was some we went through last week or earlier this week? The government was spending $1,000 to teach girls about condoms, something crazy things like this, to see if some historical things are accurate. You remember those? We were going through those figures.
Yeah, I was.
But this is where the tax dollars go. But they need to raise taxes because they don't have enough money. But they waste more money than they use the money that they have for good or for actually producing something, making something a good investment. 75% of their investments are just wasteful.
Well, it's intentional. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll put out the question out there. Number one, our solar energy, will it ever be perfected or worth it? I suppose that's a number one question. That's a question. What about wind energy? What alternative energy is worth it? Now, on the other side of that question is, folks, do you believe that nuclear energy, which I have to say is clean? Okay, boy, I could just see people going nuts now. Okay, it does not pose.
Crawl yourself out of that hole.
Well, no, nuclear energy really, if done properly, does not really. There's a fear factor.
There's no guarantee of safety, and the waste that comes from that.
Look, I understand that. I do.
It's either the way they store the waste.
But see, something. Look, and this is one. I was looking at this because at the same time we were doing the investigation into gasoline, the cost of gasoline. I was looking at the nuclear, and folks in the chat room, don't be mean to me now, but seriously, I was looking at the nuclear, the waste developed and the potential risk. Okay, what is going on with the nukes, with the nuclear plants, is the regulatory bodies are actually becoming more of a. I understand their intent, which I agree that if you have a nuclear power plant, you better make sure it's safe and secure and running properly and 100%. You've got to be 100%. I mean, there's no room for error. But what happens is the regulatory bodies create untenable situations or situations where you cannot comply without. It's almost like putting yourself at risk if you comply because the regulations are so twisted. Boy, you know what? That would need an entire program, more time than we have right now to talk about. So, go ahead and flame me and call me an idiot because. But trust me on this. There is an element of seriously. There is a very serious benefit now. But my question to the people also in the chat room that are listening, why aren't we using our own gas, our own oil? Why aren't we drilling here? Why are we letting, or why?
We're not drilling here because we're letting other countries drill here. Can't all take all the gas out of the ground at one time.
Are we letting other companies drill here in our land?
Yeah. Russia's drilling up off Alaska. I mean,
not off. I'm talking about, okay.
No, Obama's given, okay, I guess, you remember the territory Obama gave to Russia, the islands up there?
Right,
okay.
Yes, okay.
And I know China has these weird drilling rigs that they're sitting off the coast of.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. As I'm driving to Walmart in Butte, Montana, am I going to pass an oil rig that's written in Chinese and see all kind of the Chinese guys working on the rig? That's not racist, is it, Chris Matthews? All right, I don't know.
I got a Chris Matthews story for you.
But I know. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I guess my question is, why are we drilling here? I believe I know the answer to that question. And it's wow. To answer that question would open up a big can of worms.
Okay.
Okay, it's a globalist agenda answer, and it's a long-term strategy answer, and it's an answer that's in a way, it's a double-edged sword, but I just don't see. Again, that would that's a topic for another day. But I just was curious as to what people thought about that. But
I want to read this short story about Chris Matthews. Since you brought him up, I might as well.
Yes.
Chris Matthews has on-air gas attack. Excuse me,
on,
I'm burping
really?
here. Chris Matthews' detractors have for years alleged that he sometimes is drunk when he does his program on MSNBC.
Look, you know what, Joe? Seriously, don't attack the guy for if he does have physical.
Okay, well, look, what he was doing following a commercial break. He began the segment, and he began to report on the concerning the Romney campaign's internal polling numbers that said they were so high in the swing states. He shared figures, and then he said that he was having a gas attack. He says, "Excuse me, I'm burping." Apparently, he kept burping and burping over and over live on TV, and there's articles that came out about it.
Well, okay.
I mean, I don't know what's wrong with the guy. I'm just saying this is what.
So what? Yeah, I could. You know what? I don't care if he colors his face black or green or purple.
He's just a weird guy. I mean, he's giving hundreds of thousands of people a night.
It's what he
false
says.
News.
Right.
It's not just him.
That's
it's everybody on these networks.
Right.
Okay. I mean, Anderson Cooper. I remember talking about him when he had his little laughing fit where he sounded very homosexual, and then he came out and said he was homosexual. I'm not making fun of the guy. I'm just calling out on.
Man, people could look at us and say we're bozos.
Well,
yeah,
people can say what they want about
do.
us, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's the message, and but okay, so
getting back to serious news.
All right.
Angry New Yorkers say Obama pledged to cut red tape, ignored by FEMA. This is out of Fox News. Storm-ravaged New Yorkers say President Obama's promise to cut the red tape and give them aid in the aftermath of Sandy has proven to be hot air. Angry citizens vented at FEMA officials at a town hall meeting held by the Disaster Relief Agency Thursday, with tempers boiling over. Some 1,000 people, many left homeless by the October 29th storm, meeting at Staten Island's New Drop High School. They were initially scheduled to submit written questions that would be picked and answered at random, but the session turned into an angry shouting match where residents booed FEMA officials and accused them of lying. Now, I know we mentioned this the other day, and I still have this up here, facing eviction. They're forced to destroy their homes.
We still have people that are without power, without any place to live. We still have people that there are areas that I've talked to people personally where garbage is up to the ceiling, or up to the first floor outside their homes. Debris, garbage, raw garbage and debris. You've got tens of thousands of people without adequate or without power, without the basic services. Now, we also saw this, of course, with Hurricane Katrina. So we know that it's really it's.
But did we see this where their government was intimidating people, saying they're going to have to pay $2,000 per week when all they have left on their foundation is a pile of what their home used to be, and now the government's going to fine them if they don't personally get the stuff removed. When you can't even get to some of these areas, when you can't even.
But we'll see. I'm not sure if that did happen in Louisiana. If it did,
I don't remember hearing stories about that. I don't remember either. But I think there's a new low for New York City, for FEMA, and New Jersey, and places where they're doing this.
Who is requiring this? Do we know exactly who is requiring things like this? Is it
Governor? This story.
So the aftermath hit Sandy, aftermath of Sandy hit the East Coast. The mainstream media sources are praising FEMA and the government's overall response
to the disaster. However, since the dust has settled and reality has set in, it seems most of the actual help is coming from the people of the community rather than the government.
And that's a good thing, even though it's that's a good thing.
And this goes on to say, according to a local newspaper this weekend, Joe Biden visited an oceanfront community in Ocean County. Local residents, some who saw their homes for the first time, were also greeted by demolition notices.
Right.
Dated November 13th, one noticed by a resident who wishes to remain anonymous stated, "Your structure has possible structure and footing failures and needs to be demolished." It went on to say that the structure will be demolished on November 30th, just 17 days from the notice. The order allowed the residents to request a hearing, but also threatened fines up to $2,000 a week if they did not comply with the order and fix their homes before the 30th.
Well, now, is this a method to generate income, or is there a real legitimate issue here that people are dragging their feet when they should be?
I mean, you're talking about people who have homes that are demolished. I mean, how can you order somebody to clean up their home, clean up the pieces of their home?
I understand that.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. The government has no right to tell you that. It's your home. I mean, I could see if 6 years after this, you never cut your grass.
Right.
You know the kind of people who can't or don't upkeep their house and their yard, and you can tell in the neighborhoods.
It's that rigidity of legislation. Okay.
But this is something completely different. This is a storm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
We have FEMA that gets how many gazillions of dollars a year, and what do they use it for? What are they using it? They're buying bullets. They're buying preparedness resources for themselves and for their government buddies. They're not a disaster relief agency. They're a mechanism of the police state. Compared to FEMA, who's taking all the taxpayers' money, hundreds of billions of dollars of it every year, and the neighbors are providing more aid than FEMA? It makes no sense.
Well, I think we need to disband FEMA because folks and those talking about green stamps, remember those yellow CD civil defense signs? Joe, remember those?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, movies for you, perhaps, but that was by the Department of the. I want to say Department of the Army, but that's not exactly correct. You know what I'm talking about, folks, the civil defense, but the responsibility for protection and for the maintenance and construction and maintenance of those civil defense shelters. I mean, that was a big thing back in the 50s and 60s. With FEMA, that's gone. We don't have that anymore. So where did that money go? So FEMA is nothing more than just a bureaucracy. It's actually
it is more than
it's a laundering. It's really money laundering is what it is.
And that's what I was getting at with the solar companies. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's waste. It is padding the pockets of your friends through different government agencies and the way you manage the money. I don't know if you saw this. A train was derailed, gushing toxic chemicals into the Delaware River in New Jersey today. A freight train derailment caused 4 tanker cars filled with vinyl chloride to dump into Montauk Creek on Friday. At least 18 people have been reportedly rushed to the hospital for chemical treatment.
That's where we were during the storm.
Okay.
Wait, this is New Jersey, right?
Paulsboro, New Jersey.
Okay, that's that bad storm that we drove through. That's where we were
when we had the tornado, and we went to a gas station and asked somebody where we were, and they couldn't tell us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, folks, imagine this. Seriously, the true story. We're in New Jersey. We're driving around, and we got lost.
In a tornado. I mean, there was a tornado. We don't know where it was around us, but it was very close because rain and hail, and you can tell when you're getting...
And then the streets were flooding, and it was horrible.
We were out of gas. We were coming from Long Island, or we're driving through New Jersey. We're on
good planning on our part.
And we stopped to get gas.
Oh, E was like 20-some miles before that. I mean...
And in New Jersey, there's a law where you can't pump your own gas. The people there have to pump it for you.
Right, and I'd never heard of that before.
The guy comes up to the car, and my dad says, "Where are we? What zip code are we in?" And the guy says, "I don't know."
Yeah. I think I asked him what county we were in because that was like the big thing. The county, I don't know. So he didn't know the county, didn't know the zip code. True story. And I thought I was in the Twilight Zone that day.
Yeah, that's funny. You remember?
They talk about trains.
The EPA is downplaying the situation, saying the chemical spill might cause dizziness or drowsiness, when actually this vinyl chloride, is much more dangerous than that. It can cause severe respiratory problems and shut down and all kinds of things. So,
well, speaking of trains, and now we're hitting close to the top of the hour here. I want to say this: the crime reports issued by the FBI on a regular basis. We do download those and look at those. There have been numerous, a dramatic increase in thefts all across the board. Okay, number one, just burglaries. Second of all, home invasions, and interestingly, theft from trains. Well, guess what? In the middle of last month, 100 AK-style rifles were stolen from a train car in Atlanta. And this is a subject of an FBI investigation.
120 rifles. Yeah, I saw that story.
Yeah, and they were at a train yard. They were taken from a CSX rail yard on the city's northwest side. This is in Atlanta, Georgia, in mid-November. Now, they're not sure exactly when, but the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, they're investigating. That gives me the warm fuzzies. But of course, now the media is reporting, hey, they include assault rifles, which, folks, on the other side, we're going to be talking about some legislation that you need to know about, and some pending things about weapons. But that said, there's an investigation. About 120 AK-style weapons are missing. So if you happen to catch one on Craigslist, do your civic duty.
On the other side, we're going to open up the phone lines. We're also going to cover the White House opposed new Iran sanctions. The European Eurozone unemployment rate hits a new high. Also, we are going to get into, Ben Swan did a good piece on no country would tolerate missiles from from outside its borders. That's an Obama quote. He breaks that down in great accuracy. And also we have an Obama clip. I've been keeping my own naughty and nice list for Christmas. Your phone calls and more when we come back on the other side. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Friday, November 30th, the last day of the month, 2012. We'll be right back after these short messages.
20 days to go before it ends.
Before what ends?
The Mayan calendar.
For what comes after that?
22nd.
Okay. Be right back.
Hi, folks. Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilita Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile-friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have a long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Break Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the Internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the Internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies that work right there in your neighborhood. KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent. some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seat. The HAGMANN and HAGMANN flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe HAGMANN have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe HAGMANN.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of the HAGMANN and HAGMANN Report this Friday, November 30th, 2012. It was a quick first hour there as we went through a bunch of headlines. Yes, we did. Jumping all over the place.
Folks, HomelandSecurityUS.com. HomelandSecurityUS.com. Please mark that site. This weekend, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to construct resource libraries for you. We're going to be doing some massive changes, and it's just a matter. It's labor intensive, and it's going to be beneficial for everyone. So we're going to be working on that throughout the weekend. I just want to let everyone know that.
Trying to set some goals for the new year and change a few things. And
well, even before that, we want to. Just in the event that we'll be. We just want to get this done as soon as possible, but get it done properly. So you can go to our website. You'll have tools available to you, whether it be for planning, preparations. Where to go for certain things, reading material, study guides.
Yeah, legislation.
Yes, everything.
Plans, the PDFs and documents from the government and other important resources you do need.
We don't like to be a news aggregation site, and what I mean by that is I just don't want to throw a bunch of links up there because you go to the Drudge Report for that. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, Steve Quayle does it very well. He looks at what's important and puts links up to what's important. So, but we want to be a proprietary site where. It's material that you would not find elsewhere. So I want to thank you for in advance for bookmarking and coming to our site.
You mentioned something about Steve Quayle there.
Yeah,
and I don't know if this is part of something you were going to talk about. The Camp Minden update. Tuesday, Louisiana State Police served a search warrant on Expolo Systems, the company responsible for the October 16th explosion that rocked Arc-Latex, Louisiana.
I didn't hear about that.
While searching the property at Camp Minden, they found over 1 million pounds of illegally stored explosives that could be extremely dangerous if moved. They're actually evacuating towns. There's one town, about 1,000 people, that's being evacuated. The removal is expected to start early Saturday, and the Webster Sheriff's Office has highly recommended that people living within the city limits of Doyline, leave the town Friday afternoon and plan to stay out of town all weekend. For the people who choose to ignore the evacuation request, the 164 will be closed. They're closing all kinds of roads down. Schools will be closed on Monday, and these are precautions. Could be for nothing, but law enforcement would rather be safe than sorry. And 1 million pounds of black powder explosives, illegal black powder explosives at Camp Minden.
Well, that tells me they're old because the dynamite. Sometimes you'll see old movies where the dynamite leaks. It leaks nitroglycerin. Well, that's kind of what it sounds like. What's going on there? I could be wrong, but so it would be an older type of or an explosive. Aged explosives. All right. This is something that from Steve Quayle. I'm not going to read, or I'm not going to identify the sender. I'm just going to say it's from Steve, and the sender has been vetted, verified. There is something in the Retired Enlisted Association newsletter for military individuals. The Defense Secretary Service Defense Security Service issues notice regarding secession petitions. Okay, now, folks, these are the petitions to secede from the United States on the internet. And this person who points this out asks the question, has purging begun? Well, according to the Defense Security Service, or DSS, the personnel have recently received questions from security personnel at cleared contractors about whether contractors should file adverse information reports pursuant to, it doesn't matter, to allow a state to withdraw or secede from the United States. It appears that erroneous statements have been made to the effect that DSS is directing contractors to treat the signing of such petitions as reportable adverse information. Now, to be clear, DSS has not issued that guidance yet. In other words, if you have a security clearance from DSS, which is Defense Security Services, or any other government agency, it probably would not be in your best business interest to sign any secession petitions. That's what kind of the message is being portrayed here, being relayed here. Now, does that infringe on your First Amendment rights? Absolutely, it does. But if you're involved in government work or have security clearances, what this emailer is saying, look, it appears as if, although it's not happening now, they're preparing to say, well, you know what, if that's how you feel, we don't want to do business with you if you are a government contractor, or alternatively, if you've got a security clearance, perhaps we should take another look at that security clearance. That is very disturbing at its core. You have to understand what that means, because where does that stop now? Just because you sign a secession petition, what if there's a political disagreement that you've got with the administration? And when I wrote the Benghazi article, I did reference the presidential memorandum. Folks, there is an active, aggressive attempt to shut down leaks outside of or within this government.
Yeah, leaks that are damaging to the government, things they're trying to hide, or things that they're doing that people inside the government, good people inside the government, leak out that information. What is it called? The insider threats?
Insider threats, correct.
Okay.
So what you have is
and really the threats are coming from the inside, just not the people who are getting the information. They're coming from the people inside the government.
It's bizarre, and we have to pay attention to this because these walls are closing in on the good people. And I've got to tell you, I was talking with a couple of different inside sources. Obviously, I've got more than one, and it's almost unanimous that they are feeling the pressure from their supervisors that just distracted me. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we got some weird noise coming through. Sounds like a wind.
Yeah, welcome NSA.
And I think I heard somebody talking or making a noise there, like a grunting sound.
And it's not true.
There's nobody on the line.
That's right. And it's not Christians United or anything like that. But there's an attempt to silence the people who are trying to get the truth out. And if it were not for the leaks, we would not know of Benghazi. Well, we would not know all of the facts pertaining to Benghazi if it were not for the leaks. And Benghazi is so important because, again, it's a window to the agenda, to what's taking place here. And it's telling that none of the news agencies are reporting on this even still. Folks, don't be distracted by Susan Rice. Susan Rice, there's going to be a lot of news this weekend. I guarantee it. I don't know if it's happened yet about her financial affiliations. Now, that's important, but it's not. They're going to dissect her financial affiliations 6 ways to Sunday, guaranteed. she has, her and her husband have some very interesting and very contraindicated financial ties to Iran and to other. I mean, it's not just the fact that they're wealthy, but they're wealthy because of dubious financial ties. Again, to Iran, folks. Don't be distracted by this. It's important, but categorize it. Just kind of move that over onto the edge of the table there. Don't let that be the centerpiece. Just move that whole topic, just slide it over on the table. Understand it's there.
I was looking here on the White House website under presidential proclamations.
Yes.
And just looking here, I don't know if this has been done by other presidents in the past. Obama seems to proclaim a lot of world days. World AIDS Day was yesterday.
Well, okay, this began with
World Freedom Day.
Right.
On the 9th.
Now, it's not all Obama, but Obama has ratcheted things up.
We have American Recycle Day, National Native American Heritage.
Correct.
But then you have these world days.
Well, and this, okay.
I understand there are,
Well, think
of
how Earth Day started, okay, back in the 70s. But with Obama, it is all world all the time, and it speaks to the globalist agenda.
I guess I'm going to have to go back through these this weekend to see what other presidents issued and how they look compared to what Obama's issuing here with some of his proclamations, directives, and executive orders. Well, we know about the executive orders.
Well, 142 now or so, 140 some. No,
there's a new memorandum, designation of authorized representation of the federal government under Section 7302 of the National Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004. I don't know if you looked into that.
I have not.
2 days ago.
No.
I saw it, but what you were talking about was issued on November 21st, presidential memorandum, National Insider Threat Policy,
that was
minimum standards for executive branch insider threat programs.
That was on the 21st. We wrote about that. It's on HomelandSecurityUS.com. Now, and we talked about that. And that's the mechanism which they are going to use. And the word there, the key word is centralization or centralized. And when you look at these orders, it's very important. The nuggets, the important nuggets, are in the lower portion, the bottom portion. They kind of slip that in, because I don't know if they hope you get tired of reading it by the third paragraph or second paragraph. But the more important information is in the bottom portion of the various documents. So pay close attention to the entire document, but look at keywords, centralization especially. What Obama wants to do, like any good socialist going to communist, and by definition this is exactly what's taking place, is he wants to centralize everything, put everything under the control of the executive branch, make Congress irrelevant, load the judiciary with people that are sympathetic, that don't give a whit about the Constitution, but care about policy and procedure.
And we see
Obama
in his first term how he's done that brilliantly. Look at his czars, John Holdren. I mean, just you could go through the list and just see these people's backgrounds and history. They all seem to be tied to the UN. They seem to be tied to these
he's fascist. He's going after
globalist organizations and people. They have their ties to the banks and to the. I mean, he's really.
Yeah, and folks, please, I see on forums the same forums that criticize me, that criticize Ken the Free Press, that criticize the thinkers like you.
The messenger instead of the messenger.
Well, even beyond that, they look when you point out, for example, the centralization of things, or if you mention conspiracy, it's terrible.
They have in the Department of Homeland Security report that a fear of federally centralized power is, possibly an indicator of domestic extremism.
Right.
And I got the audio here of Obama's keeping naughty and nice list for...
Yeah, let's get into that right away. Go ahead and play that.
And then we'll go to take some phone calls.
All right.
They manufacture almost 3,000 pieces every minute. And every box that ends up on store shelves in 30 countries is stamped Made in America. And that's something to be proud of. That's something to be proud of. By the way, I hope the camera folks had a chance to take a look at some of the Connects, including that flag made out of Connects. And, you know, Joe Biden was in Costco. He wanted to buy some of this stuff. But I told him he had too much work to do. I wasn't going to have him building roller coasters all day long. Now, of course, Santa delivers everywhere. I've been keeping my own naughty and nice list for Washington. So you should keep your eye on who gets some Connects this year. There are going to be some members of Congress who get them, and some who don't.
His naughty and nice list.
You know,
is that like the kill list?
We have too many lists, and I know that statement was meant in jest, or you know,
yeah,
to the uninitiated. But I got to tell you, there are lists, and we're on them. That's the way it is.
Yeah, we know they're out there. We're going to go to the phones. We're going to go to Sandy first. Sandy, you're live on the HAGMANN and HAGMANN Report.
Hey, Doug, Joe. Doug, the other stand for TV stands.
TV stands.
Yellow TV stands.
Oh.
I used to too.
Oh, yes. Okay. What color were those?
Yellow.
Yeah. Okay. Yellow. All right. It was like a almost. I remember those. That was kind of like the not the favorite among. And in fact, I think that was kind of somewhat regional, but it wasn't the. Yeah.
The top values was it was. Top values stand.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. You're correct on that. Wow. And remember, you remember being able to go into the stores and buy or not buy, but trade the books and stamps in for the various things like.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I used to go with Mom.
Oh yeah. Yep. It always seemed like we ran into the nice. We had a really nice older lady that lived next door that used to bake cookies and cakes, and bake like it'd be a Wednesday, and she'd be baking, from scratch a cake. And you remember those stands that come off the counter, and they were raised stands with a top on them, Anyway, it seemed like we always used to run into her at the green stamp store. But okay. Wow, Sandy, thank you for that. My goodness. See, it's fun sometimes to remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those are the good old days.
I've been talking to my pastor about some of the things I've been learning. He's recognizing that things are getting a little scary, hectic, hairy. But he's not sure about all the things that I've been listening to. And I told him about you guys, and you were Christians, and I told him about Doc Marquis.
Right.
And,
was he familiar with Doc Marquis?
No, I had to explain who he was. It just so happened that, like, a couple nights, I think it was Monday night, I gotta confess, instead of listening to you guys, I got started on the series by Doc Marquis on YouTube, and they were only, like, less than 10-minute videos each, but there was 22 of them. So,
yeah, right.
I was preoccupied, but I learned a lot, and I told him about Doc Marquis. But I mentioned Jesse Ventura, and I had seen a video that he did on the FEMA camps.
Right.
And Alex is in there with him.
Right.
And he well, anything Jesse Ventura does, you don't, take it with a grain of salt. But I said, no, this is different.
Yeah, that's interesting that,
Well, Sandy, and John, I don't know whether you know this or not, but Jesse Ventura made additional spots for True TV. I think he made six additional
I heard
movies.
those were getting aired now. I'm
well,
not sure.
As of Tuesday or Wednesday, they still were not in rotation. All right, and and Jesse Ventura had not been paid for those. But not being in rotation, and this is what some of the stations will do, or documentaries, whether it be the History Channel. For example, I know an author of a book, or I know an author who wrote a book about Oklahoma City, just one very narrow aspect of Oklahoma City. The History Channel wanted to buy the rights, or wanted to buy the book, or I shouldn't say buy the book, wanted to do a documentary on that. The condition was they would own the rights to the factual information of that story. Now, I don't know how that works, but that's the condition. But what they were going to do was purchase the rights and then not air it. So, but Jesse Ventura is. I know that the TSA backscanner radiation problems, they're not airing, and there's another one that they're not airing. Two that are still hung up somewhere.
Yeah, and I want to say this about pastors. You're not going to find too many pastors who will step outside of their comfort box or anything that is considered by the mainstream to be conspiracy or fringe. Even if it is along the lines of Jesus, sometimes you'll see pastors shy away from it, even if it's biblically accurate. I've seen it myself with pastors I know.
Yeah.
Well, now, I did get something confused, and Doug, it was what you stringed me out on the other night about the FDIC.
Okay.
I talked to my sister before, and she texted my pastor and mentioned something about that, and told him about me finding a new home for Dilly because of it. And of course, he doesn't want me to start succumbing to a spirit of fear.
Well, no, and nor do we, Sandy. Sandy, listen, we cannot reside in that or have a spirit of fear. We must not allow ourselves to be there.
Right.
I mean,
neither can we just close our eyes to what's going on and not prepare for it.
Yeah, and preparation, Sandy, I think allays fear and does something to take that fear away.
Yeah.
And so does knowledge. Correct information, that is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sandy.
My pastor's a vice president of PNC Bank.
Oh.
So, in charge of sales. But, so I'm worried about him being a little hesitant to believe things about banking that would jeopardize his job.
Well.
I don't know that he would do that. I don't think that he would do that. But I mean, he's human,
Of course, and we're all subject to we're all subject to that. I understand, and I know the listeners understand, even though I didn't have to finish that sentence. But you know where I'm going with that. So, but that's interesting, Sandy. Now, obviously, I highly doubt your pastor knew anything about us, but is your pastor open to reading? Like, because we could send him a book, for example, They're okay because, in fact, Sandy.
Send it to me and I'll give it to him.
Okay, yeah, you've got. Well, we'll talk off air. There's the book I was quoting from and reading before, or not reading, but quoting from. One of the finest books I've really one of the finest books to me. That
you having trouble finding it?
Yeah, I am. Thank you very much. I'm here in the studio. When a Nation Forgets God. Folks, I would recommend if you have not read that book. It's not a hard read, and if you
When a Nation Forgets God.
Yes, I believe that. Is that it over there? No, this is kind of a thin one.
Let's see.
No, okay. But what we're going to be doing is sending out a couple of those books, or a book to several of our local ministers here in town, just as an FYI. So we're trying to spread the word. So now that I have actually taken up all your time, Sandy, is there anything else that's on your mind?
The stamps got restarted. I've been doing a lot of, looking at videos on the internet and trying to keep up with what's going on. I've sent you some emails about some things, and I think I sent you an email with some of the videos
Yes.
that I saw.
Yes, and did I think if I didn't respond back to it, I was impressed by the. Folks. And Sandy, there are a lot of good videos out there that, whatever level you're at, we're all at different levels in terms of our knowledge. But there are some good basic videos about economics, about preparation. And even if you want to get into like the global governance and Agenda 21, there's great videos about that. And that's what we intend to do with our website is put the links up to those, or even host the videos ourselves. So that's what we're trying to do, to steer people in the right direction, whatever level you're at.
Yeah. Well, I just, when I find something, and it's a lot of times it's things now, do they know this, or am I finding something that they don't know, or do I bother them? It's just, am I so wet behind the ears that they
we all are. I dare say, Sandy, I dare say that we all look. Even if I look at videos that I haven't seen in 5-6 years, and I look at them and I think, my goodness, I learned something new. You look at it when you're at a different level or height, like when you've got additional experience, additional knowledge behind you. You look at a video you might have seen 5 or 6 years ago, you pick up more different things from that. So it's a good thing to go over. It's always like a good refresher. So, but we're all kind of still green and wet behind the ears, most of us anyway. So don't worry about that.
Sandy, thank you so much for your call.
You're welcome.
God bless you, hon. You have a good night.
You take care, and we'll send that book out to you.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
sorry, Sandy.
I got it back.
Still there? Okay.
Can you start over, Sandy? We cut you off there.
I missed. Oh, wait a minute. That's something I need to talk to you about. I emailed you about it. I made a mistake the other day in something I told you, but that's something that my email would deal with. I started to tell you about it, but I better not.
Yeah, Sandy, I know what you're referring to. In fact, Joe, let's get a hold of her tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Sandy, you can expect to hear from us tomorrow. I know what you're talking about. We need to talk off air. All right, kiddo. Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right.
We're going to move on to Jeff in Massachusetts. He's been on hold for a while. Thanks for waiting. Jeff, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Oh, Doug and Joe, guys, I got some good stuff to share tonight.
All right, lay it on me.
Okay. First off, I'm going to talk about the subjects you've been talking about in the program, and then put out a joke, which I usually don't joke, but this really it's kind of like a semi-joke. First off, as far as the police is concerned, that deputy sheriff did an excellent job. If this would have happened in Boston, I'm telling you something, Jason Burmish would have the handcuffs on, he'd be taken away, the camera would be smashed down. I'm telling you something, this happened in Boston, you wouldn't even hear about this. People love to talk about rights in other parts of the country, and God bless them, but what people have to realize is Boston, New York, and places like that, there is no rights. It's like Judge Dredd, I am the law.
Yeah,
and,
I would think it depends on what kind of officer you run into. I don't know if I could generalize a whole town, but I'm not familiar with Boston police. But I know what you're talking about because there's some towns that I've been to that it seems like all the police are not good people. And in other places it's different. You know, you can tell when you meet a cop who knows his boundaries and the law.
I wonder if that police officer or that deputy sheriff was a member of Oath Keepers. We have to find that out.
Good point.
Yeah, maybe that
very good point.
Airport guy was a member of Infraguard.
Oh wow!
Yes. No, go ahead, Jeff.
And then I was thinking about Obama. You know, when Obama said, you know that when Jamie Foxx said that Obama is his Lord and Savior, this thought came to me, which is all of a sudden you have a whole group of kids, and you have this lady say to the kids, now kids, repeat after me, Obama is my Lord and Savior. Put your right hand out. You'll take this microchip in your right hand or your forehead, and if you do that, you'll get a cookie, kids. And if you have your parents who go against the Savior Obama, then you're going to tell us, and then we'll send Homeland Security to take care of the problem. Now that's some scary stuff. Now, you know, but that's actually blasphemous that Jamie Foxx would do something like that. And my question is, when do you think the purges are going to start happening? When they're going to start purging the talk shows? Because you know Obama is itching at the knees to turn the whole country into Boston, Massachusetts. And I know there's other callers on. I'll let you share some of these thoughts on the other end. I used to work at Logan Airport, and like I said, if Jason Burmish was to be in Boston, he wouldn't fare so well, or New York. Guys, have a good one.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for the call.
Yeah, you know,
great point.
The purging. I have to say this. I've been talking to other talk show hosts. That they're very concerned. In what we're seeing, folks, is a rise in complaints. Okay, not about the quality of our show, but about the content of our show. Now, the venue in which we broadcast, for example, BTR, Blog Talk Radio, so far they've been pretty fair. Any charges, for example, you have to agree to certain standards. We cannot come on the air with BTR and utter racially charged.
No, there's obvious broadcasting regulation standards that you have to follow.
Nor could we call for the assassination of anybody.
Well, you know, you can't. I mean, this is stuff you can't really.
I mean, it's common sense stuff.
Anybody who does any kind of public videos, YouTube videos, to radio shows, to TV shows, any kind of talking to the public, can't. There's certain guidelines and laws you have to follow.
But don't forget what happened to HomelandSecurityUS.com in May. It was when we got taken off June when GoDaddy said, you know what, we've had enough. The terms and conditions, we were in violation
Yeah,
nothing.
They would not cite. They said that you violated their
the spirit of
but they would not cite an example.
No, in fact, I had requested in writing certain information, and they basically said bite me. I mean,
yeah. You published the email.
No, I mean this was in addition to the email, the written correspondence that went to them. I was referred to their attorneys after the bite me. And I'm being facetious there, but they could have said that, and it would have had the same effect. So, but no. So what we're seeing, and I've been hearing this from other hosts as well that are based inside the United States. Oddly, not based in Canada, not based in other countries, but in the United States, where the number of investigations are on the rise of talk shows and talk show hosts. And and I can almost guarantee there will come a time when, like BTR or some other venue will say, look, we've had enough. We can't spend all our time looking into these complaints. Instead of realizing for what they are, they would say, heck with it. We're just going to cut you off. We can't make this a full-time job.
I never thought of it that way. An overwhelmingness or too many complaints to go through, so we have to.
But they're being very and folks, and you got to understand this. They're very cunning about this. That's why I get really crazy when people, and I see on the different internet websites where they call Obama ignorant or stupid or incompetent. He's anything but that. Okay, let's just stipulate for a moment, for the sake of discussion, that he is. The people around him are not. So they're doing it in such a way where they won't flood, for example, BTR with a whole bunch of complaints. What they'll do is it's a trickle effect. It's one after another, but there's enough space in there so it doesn't look like there's a campaign going on. And that's the evil genius of what is taking place. So to answer that question, the purge, it can come in many different forms, and it will, but they're preparing for it now. They are.
Moving on back to something you mentioned, you talked about the Mayan calendar at the beginning of the show in 2012.
Oh, yeah, I did.
There is a story here. NASA warns Mayan apocalypse stories pose a threat to frightened children and suicidal teenagers. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration warns that the 2012 Mayan apocalypse rumors pose a real-life threat to frightened children, depressed teenagers. Some say they can't eat or are too worried to sleep, while others say that they're suicidal.
Well, look,
it leads to a bigger problem, because there's a reason I brought this up.
I can afford not to eat, I'll tell you that. But
how many of these depressed teenagers or kids or people who can't eat or sleep because they're too worried about December 21st being the end date because of some theory people have about the Mayan calendar? How many of these children have
underlying problems
that are true Christians that have taught them biblical principles? And
one would think probably not too many.
Right. Because I just don't. I mean, the media is the one promoting this fear. They're the ones that allowing these stories to get into even the local news broadcasts. I've seen things on it here. I've seen it on a national level and an international level. They're the ones fear-mongering off this stuff. And then they turn around and say, oh, it's and there are crazy people who, the Ancient Alien History Channel shows, and there are these crazy people that do believe the Earth is going to end, and the New Agers believe there's going to be some sort of shift where you're going to have a higher level of consciousness, and they call it ascension, and it's this weird form of spirituality that's not biblically based. I call it what it is, the New Age movement. But the media and the governments are the one hyping this stuff up.
But you know something? When I was listening to Tom Horn and Steve Quayle and Chris Putman on this lecture today, it was a 4-hour show. All right, I got through it, almost through it, as I was traveling. There is something about 2012. once again, it doesn't matter if you and I believe it. It doesn't matter if it's Christian. And see, this is an issue. And folks, let me just, please bear with me on this, okay? Numerology, astrology, these are issues that as Christians,
Psychic, visiting psychics, mediums.
But specifically numerology and astrology. Let's just take those two right now. Okay. As Christians, what we're not supposed to believe in that, correct? Or okay.
No, you don't get into astrology. Astronomy and astrology are different.
Right. Of course they are.
People who look at their horoscopes, people who go see psychics, hypnotism, those kind of things are not.
But here's so. And I've gotten emails here recently, people saying you shouldn't be talking about numerology. You shouldn't be talking about the symbolism. But that's incorrect in my view. What we need to do is we need to talk about it because this is what they, the Satanists and the Luciferians and the globalists even, because they're adopting these various things, are talking about. We need to understand what they believe. It's kind of like you shouldn't be talking about the Imam Mahdi or the Quran, or the citing surahs in the Quran. No, we should, because we need to understand how they think. And here's something that Joe, I got to tell you this, and I can't wait this weekend. You've got to listen to this.
Yeah, I'm going to.
And folks, this is something I did not realize. 2012, there are, did I say this earlier? If I did, I apologize. 2012 there's a confluence of ancient predictions, or I shouldn't say predictions, prophecies. Of course, we have the biblical prophecies for the end of times, less specific, but nonetheless, shaping up. You've got the prophecy of the popes.
St. Malachi?
St. Malachi, right, or Malachi prophecies, right. And Tom Horn was explaining this, and there's just no way I could ever do any type of justice to how he gets into it. And let me tell you something. This Tom Horn, wow, knowledgeable. Okay.
Yeah.
But Osiris, Isis, and I used to hear Richard Hoagland talk about Osiris and Isis and think, man, really? Okay, really? But the obelisk in Washington, D.C., the dome in the Capitol. When I was in Washington and I was standing in the Capitol looking up at the painting on the dome of the Capitol, I had no idea what I was looking at. But when you start looking at the components of the painting, the pentagrams in there, and then you start looking at the sculptures, step by step by step by step. And you start connecting the dots. And we will do programs on this, folks, if you so desire, because I'm studying this, or researching this as best as I can, and contacting various people, including, and Steve Quayle's another guy that really knows a lot about this. But 2012 ends the Iron Age, which is the current age that we're in. But there's this Apollo. There's something called the and I'm not going to pronounce this right. Cumae, Cumae. Folks, have you heard about that? I'm sure there are people out there just throwing stuff at their radio or at their computer, saying, you're an idiot, Doug. What do you think we've been talking about or trying to tell you for the last 10 years? Okay, and I just want to apologize. But let me just say this, folks. There is wisdom in a multitude of counsel. Okay? There is wisdom in a multitude of counsel, and that's what we are. By listening to this show, by interacting, we're a multitude of counsel. We can learn from each other. We can sharpen one another. And but one thing I don't believe in is date setting. No date setting, obviously. And certainly when we talk about this kind of stuff, these issues, these topics, the Bible, there's nothing better than the Bible, and certainly we're not the Bible is the end all.
And what it says about the word in the Bible is it says that if any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away the words.
There's no book on par with the Bible. The Bible is a standalone. And certainly, like for, because if we stray from that, then you get into like the Herald Campings that set the dates and what have you. It violates both date setting and then their interpretation, for example, of the Book of Revelation. But the thing is, we can. I think you see that the narrow path. But anyway. These are things that we really need to. The Book of Shmuel. Have you folks heard about that? This is something that. So what am I getting at? Well, 2012 is an important year in the Hebrew calendar. It's 5773, and this is the year that all the kings are supposed to assemble in Rome, according to the Zohar. And
I can't get over that word.
Zohar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you call it something else, please?
I like that word, but that matches with the Mayan calendar issue, and also it's starting to line up with a Malachi prophecy of the popes. But we're running out of time with respect to 2012.
I just can't stand this big deception going on with this Mayan 2012 calendar. It makes no bit of difference what is in that calendar, how it's put together.
No, not to us, right?
Of course not.
No, but to others it does. See, that's the thing.
It's such and this goes back to the media. I mean, why do so many people know about 2012? It's not just because, look at, we'll say an issue like 9/11 versus 2012. You can't say it's the internet because
true.
You would see a lot more information all around about all kinds of things. But everybody knows about the 2012 thing. Why? Well, because I'm sure they talk about it at schools, people talk about it at work because of the TV shows they watch and the people they listen to, and all the...
Well, okay, then let me ask you...
The internet does add to it because you have YouTube and outlets where people can put anything they want out there, any theories they have, and which is good. But as long as people are taking and discerning what's right and wrong, that's how it should be. But when they're not, like we see today with so many lost people, this is what we have.
Well, right. Yeah, and I was going to make a strong point, and then you just got, it's okay for people to talk about the Mayan calendar 2012 and talk about it intellectual or have an intellectual discussion about it, but try to bring up 9/11. Try to bring up the architects and the engineers for truth. What they talk about. Now you're a conspiracy theorist. And that goes the same for UFOs. People can talk all day long about spaceships, ships from outer space, and talk about it on a relatively intellectual level and be applauded by or accepted by the media. But you start talking about Oklahoma City, or you start talking about 9/11, then you get
that's a no-no conspiracy.
Right. Now you're a lunatic
and a terrorist.
Yes, a lunatic and a terrorist.
And that's something that happened 11 years ago.
Yes.
But you talk about something we don't even know about. People can talk about the Mayan calendar 2012, but they can look at a calendar, not translate one thing for themselves from the calendar. Yeah, all these people seem to have all this knowledge about it, but it's wasteful knowledge, in my opinion.
Well, it's
what value
wasteful
is
time.
there? Yeah, wasted time, wasted knowledge,
but wasted
effort.
Wasted effort in the context that you're talking about. But when you look at it in a larger sense,
as much effort into learning about 2012 and what's going to happen when the Mayan calendar ends as they did in the Lord.
There you go. Okay, I agree with that.
It's just so frustrating because people will jump from theory to theory, from Y2K to aliens to the Mayan calendar 2012 to the next thing that's going to come along, and they'll cling to it and promote it. And like Pastor Begley called out that guy who told his followers to get 666 tattoos because he was Jesus and he was coming back.
Oh, I remember that guy. He
was all this attention, all this hype, and nothing ever happened
about us too.
But at the same time, there is something happening. we are seeing prophecy being fulfilled from the Bible. But where is the news coverage on that? Actual history being fulfilled that was talked about 2,500 years ago, 3,500 years ago, that's in the Bible. You don't hear them pointing those
Wouldn't that be
connections out.
something to tune into MSNBC
because
or Brian?
They're not allowed. I mean, you can't say the word God in schools. At the top of the show, we mentioned 6-year-old girl who was not allowed to read the word God on Veterans Day in her poem.
But see, which God, and that's something that I think that we should talk about as well. And this was brought up by Tom Horn as well. And remember the caller from last night. Think about that caller from last night too. Okay, in the back of your mind. Keep that in the back of your mind now. On your money, in God we trust. Why was that put on our money? Do you know why?
Well, I'm not 236 years old, but or actually, our money is not even that old. But no, I don't know the true reason. I don't know which God they're referring to.
Okay, that's a good point. That motto, "In God We Trust," was put on the money in the event of an apocalyptic extinction level event that would wipe out, our country and ultimately civilization. When the people doing the excavation to find out, kind of like Pompeii. Think Pompeii. Okay, they find a coin. Oh, in God we trust. Well, the God that they are referring to, according to some people, is Apollo.
Yeah.
Right? No, that's not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay. So think about that for a moment, and we'll let that ruminate a little bit, and it gives you kind of a window into other matters. Now, does that mean that I look at that and I think I'm, worshiping Apollo? No, no, not at all. But see, now it clarifies what that caller said last night.
That makes a lot more sense.
And I you know what? That to me is divine, because I had not planned on grabbing that DVD, and I just happened to grab that one, and it just happened to be that one. I don't know, there's 150 items there, and I happened to click on that one particular item, and they're talking about this, and I thought, man, but this, we should get into this at some future point, because folks, this does talk about what has gone on for so many for a long time. And it affects, for example, I did hear this. I don't know about this, and callers, your listeners, you probably know more about this than I do. The allegations that every president, either concurrent with their inauguration or posthumously, depending on which president, but we'll say every recent president, at the very least, at the time that they were inaugurated, they were also dedicated at a Masonic lodge in Washington, D.C.
No, I've heard about that, and I know a few of our guests have talked about that, and I don't want to start listing off names because I'm not sure who said that. But I specifically remember that.
Okay,
being said on our show before by one of the guests.
So if that is true, and then we have to connect some dots. And I know, folks, you might think, what does this really have to do with news and analysis and everything? And have you lost your mind?
Yes, it's Free for All Friday.
Perhaps we have. Perhaps I have. But if you look at, if I'm looking at a crime scene, for example, there's a lot that happened before that body is laying on the ground, dead. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happened before. You need to know what happened before that body hit the pavement with a bullet. Okay, that's kind of the approach I'm taking with this. If we're dealing with the here and now, with the current situation, with the current state of our the nation, how did we get here? Well, let's go backwards from here, and let's go forwards from a certain point, and then we can kind of get an idea. That's the relevance to me. Now that I've actually just dominated the entire hour.
No, that's okay. We're coming up against the break, but when we come back, we're going to go right to the phone lines. We got Sheila and Sherry and some other people on hold. We're going to get to you folks before we do anything else on the other side of the hour. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this last day of November 2012. November 30th.
After all that talk, you're going to mess up on the year, right?
Yeah, I almost did. All that talk about 2012, and people were in the chat talking about calendars. If anybody's bought their 2013 calendar, had me thinking about 2013. And it's right around the corner. It'll be here before you know it, so no need to
listeners,
rush.
hey, wait, people in the chat room, we have had requests for us to do, Joe and I, to do swimsuit calendars.
I didn't get any.
Oh, yeah, I've gotten like a ton. What do you think?
We'll be right back. Disregard that last statement. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report on this fun Friday, November 30th, 2012.
If you are stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop.
Food.
Folks, let me tell you about a product I take. It's called Nootropic. It's from mindregard.com. That's mindregard.com. It's a dietary supplement, with all the genetically modified organisms out there, with the chemtrails, with everything that's going on and that your body is exposed to. You need something just to get things right, especially with your mental acuity, because it does affect all that stuff affects your thought processes, your mental acuity, and of course the blood flow to your brain. And I take MindRegard or Nootropic from MindRegard. I'll tell you, I find it helps me with my thought processes, decision-making processes. I'm serious about this. It's kind of like if you can imagine a glass that's murky, full of murky water. You run it through a filter. That's kind of the way I feel after I've taken Nootropic for some time. And my father-in-law takes it. He swears by it. Folks, that's mindregard.com. Mindregard.com. Go to HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on the banner, and when you're over there, when you're ordering a bottle, tell them Doug and Joe Hagmann sent you, Hagmann and Hagmann Report. That's the coupon code, so to speak, for 10% off.
Doug Hagmann. One guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Open up on it because of certain things it does and whatnot. It's a pain in the neck to it, but it's all tied in together. These people buying these houses and whatnot don't realize they're buying into these companies controlling their water, their electric, everything. Everything.
That is, in fact, Sheila, that is the objective. The appliances that you mentioned. Pretty soon, all appliances, all electrical and gas appliances, from toasters to can openers to whatever, they must adhere to certain standards, whether it be the wattage or amperage, I don't know which one it is, that they pull to their level of efficiency, and this is going to drive the cost, not only drive the cost of the item up, but it's also going to put a lot of companies out of business. For what, though? It's not going to be a measurable difference, even in mass quantities that we're talking about. It's all about the Benjamins. It really is. It's all about the money.
Jeffrey emailed. General Electric is making all the appliances, and we know that he's met behind closed doors with Obama over the green agenda, and it just so happens that he runs GE, and they've got the contracts to make all these appliances. So people out there, if you don't You got to be careful what you're buying until it gets to a point where you don't have any choice. Don't buy nothing that's Energy Star because it's crap, and they want to get control of everything in your house. And I'm sure they've got these controls in their houses as well.
In case you don't know this, folks, and let me interject this, Sheila. In case you don't know this, if you come across any 100-watt incandescent light bulbs, buy them up because they are stopping. They're not making them anymore. Those are 100-watt light bulbs, incandescent light bulbs. Get them while you can. Now, I know some people who are using them to heat their chicken coops. Okay, there are uses for these, but the government has made them illegal. So, just as an FYI.
Yeah, and the thing is they're full of mercury. You have to. They come with directions on how to dispose them because of the mercury in them.
Well, the new ones, yes, they do. Don't dare drop them. Yeah, you're right because the components inside or the stuff inside will could kill you. Yes.
It's a bunch of crap,
Hazardous waste, yes.
That's where I heard about this sustainable development was TomDeWeese.com. He's done a lot of research, and he does a lot of traveling around the country doing seminars and whatnot to let the people know what's actually going on here. I mean, they paint a really nice picture. They got a kid out in the front yard, the grass is all nice and green, playing ball, but the playground's over in another area. I saw a picture from the UN. The UN put out a picture on their website. Frances Schweiger got it because she was doing a special thing on sustainable development, and the picture they had on their website wasn't big enough for the people to see it, so she had one of her people draw it. And what it's going to end up being, it's going to be like poor Chinese. 4- and 6-story apartment buildings, no cars allowed, bicycle paths, that's it. You'll be in one area. You'll work below the apartment buildings that you live in. It's unbelievable, and it's exactly the way the poor, the people in China, they're living that way. They can't travel anywhere by car and whatnot.
Yeah, that's
what they're leading.
Yeah, they'd get rid of all cars if they could, and people would just commute to work for mass transportation or bicycles
or horses. Yeah.
No, exactly. Last night I was sitting here watching House Hunters. They were talking, they said, we want our children to be global citizens, just like me and their dad. And we want them to understand about the world. And I just cringed at that. It's programming is what it's doing. And then the program after that, right before you came on, was on the green agenda. Buying houses that's eco-friendly and whatnot. So it's propaganda, and people have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, Judy McLeod has done a marvelous job. Judy McLeod from Canada Free Press just published an article about Agenda 21 yesterday. I believe it's still on Canada Free Press's website. It's an important read. It's about the very issue we're talking about and the issues we're talking about.
Well, they want to come bang on your door. They want to see your windows, how sufficient they are, what kind of heating system do you have, what kind of hot water heater. They want to come in here and look. Yeah, right. I'm not coming in this house. No way.
No,
that's what the plan is.
Yeah, they are planning it, and they plan on implementing it. Is there anything else before we let you go tonight, Sheila?
No, that was pretty much it. But it's
TomDeWeese.com. Very good. Sheila, have a great weekend. God bless. Yeah, TomDeWeese.com. Tom DeWeese. I think that's DEWEESE.
I've never heard of him.
He's I've been there.
We're gonna go to Sherry here, I think. Let's see, Sherry, and then Phil. Area code 580. Sherry from Oklahoma. You're live on the HAGMANN. How you doing?
This is Sherry. Hi, guys.
Good to talk with you.
Yeah, I'm just enjoyed the show tonight. And I've made me a few notes because I need that stuff you advertise. I kind of lose track of what I even called for. I get to listening to you guys. But, yes, the first thing I want to say, I do remember green stamps. I've got my first set of Melmac dishes with those, and I was so proud of them. I tell you what, they're some of the best dishes ever made. They were just nearly, you couldn't destroy them. I mean, and I have a few left, and of course we've kind of gone to the newer, prettier things, but they were very durable and very good. But just tells you how old I am.
Well.
But anyway, I was thinking about something Joe said at the first of the show about, and I understand what you mean, Joe, about freedoms, religious freedoms being taken away. I understand that.
Uh-huh.
But everything I think and do, I have to filter through God's Word. And no man can take away our freedom. I'm not trying to tell you something you don't know. You know that. No man can take away our freedom because it's not physical, it's not public, or it's not man-legislated. It is spiritual, and he who the Son has set free is free indeed. We are the free ones. Those people are so in bondage, they just don't know it.
I'm so happy you brought that up and made that point. That is so critical to remember, because in the bigger picture, when considering our eternal soul, in this battle,
we really are.
Yeah. We have to think about what's important, and is our constitutional rights more important than our biblical duties? No.
No.
And if I made that
because this is all going to pass away.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right.
I don't know what they sing in your churches up there. I'm in Oklahoma, but down here we sing a song, Learning to Lean. That's one of the signs, I believe, is the escalation, of things, that he is teaching us to lean on him. And that's, I believe when we talk to each other, we should edify each other. And so we just need to learn to lean on him. But
I love it.
That's kind of and you were talking about December 21 and the Mayan calendar and all of those things that people are predicting. And actually, I believe that the Bible talks about they used to worship idols, that they made with their hands, but now they actually worship Satan. And I believe that they can open these portals that the guys talk about, But still, that does not bring fear to us. But I was thinking about December 21st. If you were a bride and you knew that your bridegroom was going to come on the 21st, you wouldn't be dreading that day.
No.
Not at all.
If we knew for certain that 21st, we don't, but if we did, we would be looking forward to it with joy,
Yeah, we should
and something else. Something else I wanted to tell you, and this, I don't want to read the Bible on the air, but it's in Acts, the 5th chapter, when they brought Peter and the apostles up before the council. And this is what it says. I mean, we can bring suffering on ourselves, and we can bring persecution on ourselves, but if we're going to be persecuted, let it be for the name of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it says in the 40th verse of the 5th chapter, it says, and when they had called the apostles and beaten them, They commanded that they should not speak in the name of Jesus, and then they let them go. And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. So we're going to be persecuted, and we're going to go through some hard times, but if it's for the name of Christ, we need to do what the apostles did. We can go away rejoicing.
That's right. That's a glimpse into our future, by the way, and you're exactly right. And thank you for reading that. Thank you for referencing that. We need to hear that. And that's why.
And you answered your own question, Doug, a while ago. I'll just say globalist agenda. Yeah, that's right. I don't know if you remember what you said. I do, but yeah, that's the answer. It's a globalist agenda, and we know that.
Yeah, I know we do. I know we do, but at times, no. Of course, we have to. I mean, and this raises another issue because we are at the very time that we're living right now. You have been appointed to be living at this time, as I have, as Joe has, as we all have. Okay, now. Because we know the lateness of the hour, and we're not date setting or anything like that. We just know the lateness of the hour. I believe personally, and I think it's reasonable to expect everyone else to believe that they should, put on the armor of Ephesians and fight the good fight for God, be on the side of good. Although we know how the story ends, that doesn't mean we should just lie down and accept things. I think we have to we have to attempt to change things, because even if we don't make it through this crisis and the next crisis, we have to think about others as well as our children and our offspring and our heritage.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that, and I don't want to use your venue to disagree with you, but about fighting and what we come up, who is our battle with. But I do know that when Jesus was in the garden and they came for him, he had been betrayed by Judas. He didn't run and he didn't fight. You know what the Bible says he did? He went to meet them, because his only purpose for being here was to do the will of God, and he knew that the will of God was that it was time for him to be crucified. And so he went to meet them. And I'm not saying go to meet your enemy and stand in their face, and we do have to use wisdom.
Right.
But we do have to know who the enemy is, and it is Satan. It is Satan.
It is.
Because he's after
that we
our
can agree
soul.
on. Yeah.
He is after our soul.
That we can agree on. And something, I'm not going to disagree with what you said, only because I don't, I guess it's my personal belief, but you make a good point, okay?
Well, I know what you guys' job is. I know what you do. And not everyone has the same place to fill in the body of Christ. You give us news, and that's great. That's the purpose of a body, when every piece, every part plays a part, So we can't be all things to the body. We can only be what we are. And I understand what you guys do, and I appreciate it. I listen to you every night.
Wow. Well, we appreciate that. And, I just look at Jeremiah 62, being watchmen on the walls, and okay, now
say that fulfills a service. Mm-hmm.
Right, and here's and I have to say this, because this is what I struggle with, and I've talked to Joe about this, and if we don't do our job well, or if we don't live up to, or if we don't do our job well, or do what's expected of us, or lie down on the job, or fall asleep as watchmen, then we are going to have blood on our hands. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Do you know what I mean? So we, at least I know both Joe and I take our job very seriously, maybe more serious than we should. I'm laughing because you're
But I think, and I don't, and this is what I believe. I believe that someday what you do will come to an end.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Of the freedom. But that doesn't mean that what you have in your heart, and it doesn't mean that you can keep telling it. It may be just on a very much smaller scale. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, we
no
have
matter
the
what
techniques.
If the radio or internet, the communications were to get cut off, we'd still be preaching the same thing. Like you said, it would just be to a lot smaller group of people. It would be face-to-face kind of thing.
On the other hand, with the way we have some things that are about to be rolled out and finished, finalized, I mean, we have different platforms, and we're able to do it from other locations outside of the country. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you guys go, but but the last word I just want to say is we're learning to lean. You know, we say a lot of words sometimes that it doesn't really get into our heart, but at the right time, God will open it and open our heart to know what those words really mean. Learning to lean on Him, and that's what I want Him to teach me. Because these days, nothing else. I can't lean on anything else. And I pray that for the whole family of God and for you guys. So, anyway, I'll just keep listening.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking my call.
All right.
And it was an excellent call at that. Thank you, Sherry. You had a great weekend.
There's a perfect example, Joe, of the fact that there is wisdom in a multitude of counsel.
You know, focusing on news more than scripture, and like tonight, just for me, I know you were busy today, but I'm so glad she called in and gave us that word, because that's not where my mind was really at, but that's where it needs to be.
Well, yeah,
you know.
But we see sometimes it's not to me it's not a conscious thing, and to the listeners out there, and if you're listening to this on tape driving down the road, I mean, think about this. It's this. What do we do in school? We learned through at times we learn through repetition. So you might hear something once, maybe twice, maybe three, maybe you hear it almost every day. You know, but I think the more that you hear it, there's different ways of accepting it, absorbing it. For example, you know, the more you hear about prophecy, the end times, or the end of the days, the more I think the more receptive you are to the revelations as they happen. I know that's kind of a stretch from what I was talking about, but that said, that gives you the ability then, when you hear rockets being fired from Gaza into Israel, there's a certain level you accept that information, or you listen to the news at a different level than perhaps the guy at the bar where the TV set above the bar happens to be on, and he's looking at the television set and seeing it take place. Stark examples, I know, but still, you get the idea.
We're going to go to Phil. He's on hold. Thanks for holding, Phil. I want to say this. You're live, Phil, and I want to apologize. I was supposed to be on him and Jason's show today, Revelation News, and I completely forgot, and I had to go out.
That's okay. That's okay. We don't mind. We know you're busy. You had relatives coming in, so that's not a problem, buddy. You know.
Yeah.
You know, but what I do want to say is one thing, and I want to say this about my co-host Jason. And I want everyone to notice, all 250 of your listeners listening in right now, okay, and he's been very humble and very showing a lot of humility about it, but people have to know a true hero. And he said to me, Phil, hey, we need to get you out of New York for the EBT riots, as you call it. And so he says, I will give you this property. You can stay there as long as you want. I said, well, what is your property tax? He said, blah, blah, okay. So I said, I'll make a deal with you. I'm working, even if I lose the job and the economy goes to heck in a handbasket, I'll still give you your property tax every year, you know? And he said, that's good. And I said, well, so then I asked him, what if the economy collapses and I can't even pay that? He said, it's yours anyway. So I mean, okay, the man is virtually giving me a property and a place, a safe refuge and safe harbor. So people got to realize this man is a true Christian. He ain't no enemy of the state like the police treated him on the time they took him in. Okay, just for talking his First Amendment rights. Okay?
Yeah.
That's number 2. All right? And number 3 is to, and Jason, I want you to come on here, you wombat, because I want you to talk. All right? And join me on this. But I do want to say a couple of things. On my health update, I spent the day at Sloan Kettering. It's a mixture of good news, bad news. They did not tell me I had a lymph node growing in me by my chest. They did not tell me that. And for good reason. But and what they found was it's getting smaller. Okay? And
wow.
a couple of years ago, they took primary tumor of mine and some of the No, I'm in the bedroom right now. No sewer.
No, I was just messing around. It got real windy. It sounded like
we thought we lost you, but okay. So wait, Phil. Okay, Sloan Kettering, by the way, folks, they specialize in cancer treatment. Very well renowned facility, but it's getting smaller. What do they attribute that to, or haven't they said?
They took my primary tumor part of it, and they pulled it in basically, and they created an experimental vaccine protocol with it, and they did that for about 12 patients. Okay. And what they're seeing, and it, not only me, but the 11 others, is they're seeing their cancers come back and go away basically. So they think they're on.
Do you have melanoma or no?
Oh, I had renal clear cell carcinoma of the kidney, which is 1 out of 500 people.
Right. Okay. And so, this is a direct result from the cleanup efforts and activities of Phil at Ground Zero.
I stayed
first responder.
I only decontaminated once a night on the cruise ship. Took a nap, went back there. I spent 8 days there, and after the 8th day, I left because there was nobody else to save. You know, and I had to return to my regular job, otherwise I would have lost it. So anyway, so what happened was I said, Doc, so do you really think 9/11 did it, or do you think it was inherited? And she says, honestly, it'll be very hard to prove, but yeah, she thinks it is. And the fact that they're categorizing renal tumors now, she said, it's on your side. So anyway, that's the good news. Okay, the other good news is coming January, I will no longer be in New York City. I will be in Beckville. Not far from Jason, not far from you guys.
Very well.
And it'll be a culture shock for me. It'll be a lot different, but I like quiet and I like peace. And the other good thing is I'll be right across from the volunteer fire department. So if God forbid something would have happened, they're right there.
Well, I want to say,
look, Phil,
God bless Jason and Phil. God bless you. Finally getting out of the city.
On your way out, stop at Brooklyn in Mass. And grab me a pizza, a margarita pizza, please.
That's in Queens.
Well, okay, sure. And Canarsie, too, of course. I do want to bring up this. We had some great guests today. We had Catherine Albright. And tomorrow, the people who are coming on is just Stan Deo. And I want you guys to come on just to say hello and hi and, plug your show.
Okay, well, Phil, let's give you the opportunity. You're on BTR. Give us the name, the dates, or the name and the time and the days of the week you're on.
Yeah, well, it's tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Revelation News Radio. Our guest will be Stan Deo, and it'll be myself and Jason.
Okay.
We'll be hosting him together. We have a couple of other big guests playing, but okay, for instance, Lindsey Williams will be coming on sometime later during the week. So I have a lot of big guests coming up. And I'm going to share them. And I did send you a suggestion, Joe, an email about like-minded hosts getting together and going on another net, if you remember.
We need to do that. All of the, like Rick Wiles, others, yes, we need to get together as a team. Yes, we do, because look.
I think you will get better audio quality, better control, over the setup and stuff. And Jason, please call in so we could all chat together.
All right. Well, Phil, look, it's good news all around, and I just want to say that prayers do work.
What's happening in Egypt? I'm just flabbergasted by it. I mean, flabbergasted. Completely.
The Constitution?
Well, Phil.
Yeah, I thought they're trying to get away from tyranny, and supposedly that's why they supported it, and now Muslim Brotherhood saying, no, slavery's okay, and all this other garbage. So the way I see it, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Same old garbage.
Well, Phil, thanks for the call. Let me explain something about what's going on with the Arab Spring and with Egypt and everything. Look, folks, Arab Spring was a plan right from the beginning. This was planned out. The riots in Tunisia were a result of our meddling in our efforts to destabilize Tunisia. It started there, and so on. Egypt, in particular, because of a strategic location. Look, you've got an alleged president, Barack Hussein Obama, in the White House who is tied at the hip to Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood inside the White House, coming in and out of the White House, inside the State Department, and doing the bidding for this administration the regime, I should say, is doing the bidding for the Muslim Brotherhood and Saudi Arabia. Why do you think the bow? How big of a bow? Now, did George Bush do some of the same thing? Yes, he did, but for different reasons. They were not ideological. Hold on a second. That does not make him any less culpable. I lay a lot of culpability down on George Bush for getting us involved in this. One of his key people who's still around in the GOP establishment is Grover Norquist. Grover Norquist has all this ideological agenda for the Muslim Brotherhood, for this Islamic takeover, this caliphate. He influenced George Bush, but Bush was in it for other reasons aside from the religious element, the caliphate element. With Bush, it was the oil and the personal gain. It was also part of the global governance that was discussed on
the New World Order.
Right. And folks, you talk about numerology. September 11th, 1990, George Herbert Walker Bush, great speech. When I say great, I'm talking about significant speech about the New World Order. September 11th,
great speech.
2001, the attacks of 9/11. That's 11 years to the day. What happened 11 years to the day after 9/11/2001?
The innocent
Libya.
Muslims.
Yeah,
just kidding. No, the non-existent protest that led to the Benghazi situation.
And what is the significance of the number 11 in the satanic Luciferian the world? There's a significance to that number. So what we're seeing here is a global agenda being played out right before our very eyes. They are relying, or they're using numerology, they're using symbology. And remember earlier in this week, folks, I asked about Hillary Rodham Clinton, about her physical appearance. This has nothing to do with the number 11, but what it does have to do with is messages that are being portrayed, sent, telegraphed right before our very eyes. Many emails were sent to me. When I think each every one of you that sent me an email, most of you are right on the money that there is a telegraphing going on. There's messages being sent by Hillary Clinton and others in this regime who adhere to this Luciferian satanic ideology, and it's happening right before our very eyes. Now, the people, people who are not comfortable talking about this, or who are into, that's what's wrong with you. Well, okay, it's perhaps there is an element of nuttiness in me. Maybe there is. Now, I don't think so, because when you take a look at all of the elements of what they believe. This is why it's so important, what they believe. This is what we're seeing play out. And Egypt is the direct reason. No one should be surprised. Nobody should be surprised about Egypt.
No, we were saying this is going to happen. I mean, not the Constitution and what it would say, but what kind of government it would be.
Right.
And we could tell them, and this is all by design, like you said.
That's right. No, and so bringing this back home now, let's look at what this alleged Christian president, which he's not, what has he done? We were talking, and this is how it all ties together. We're talking about freedom of religion. Well, no, it's not freedom of religion. It is what we have is a protection against the state being involved in religious affairs. And then, of course, on the other side, we've got the there shall be no religious test for people in the government. On the other hand, what do we have right now? We've got the Obama State Department negotiating with the 57 nations of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, to enact speech laws in this country, that would require you to respect Islam. Under such laws, many Christians are even in jail right now in Islamic countries. The other thing, and folks, you know, you could tell a man by his deeds. So far, every year of his presidency, and I use that term lightly, Obama has declined to host the White House traditional services for the National Day of Prayer, that day authorized by Congress. Yet every single year he has hosted the iftar dinner honoring Islam and other Islamic holidays. He's directed the Department of Justice to stop defending the Defense of Marriage Act. Is that Christian? No. Is that religious? It's anti-spiritual. It's anti-Christian.
Christ, yeah.
Right. He allows homosexuals to serve openly in the military.
Repealing dumbass don't tell.
And there was a statement made by Tom Horn, and I have to. It knocked me off my feet.
We talked about this yesterday too. In Oregon, they're changing the titles of husband and wife to person A and person B. I mean, they are changing the laws and traditions of not only our country, but things such as marriage, which date back, you know, since the beginning of time, between men and women, not between men and men.
Well, right, and what Tom Horn said, and folks, listen carefully to this, because when he said it, I thought, wow, I was looking at this backwards. But he said, you know, the occultism, demonism, and Joe, think about this, demonism leads to homosexual behavior, okay? Now, that might sound at its face, right? Or,
I would say homosexual behavior leads to more demonic activity.
Okay, that would be the rational aspect of looking at things.
Like a small sin leads to bigger sin. Okay. If you don't stop it and realize that you're doing is wrong, it can lead down a big hole.
Right. Now, but however, at this level of intellectual discussion, which is what we're having, what is the contention here is, when one practices, we'll say the occult or the ritualistic demonic type of activities, part of that, a significant element of that, is the pedophilia, the homosexuality aspect of things. We're not talking about atheism. We're talking about the demonic activities. That leads to this homosexual activity. And I was, just like you, I was thinking, wait a minute, wouldn't it be the other way around? No, and
I mean, I can see how that
I suppose it could be both,
but it would make more sense that, I mean, people don't. All right, let's put it this way: a straight male,
right,
non-religious, we'll say an atheist.
No, we'll say practices demonic rituals.
Okay, but you don't just start practicing demonic rituals out of nowhere. You have other things lead up to that.
Right.
Okay, so that's why I'm not saying the backward nature, but I understand it. Where if you're involved in that demonic activity, how you could pick up, you know, every sin you could possibly imagine committing. You know, you would go through like a lot of people make the argument, well, I don't know if people heard of NAMBLA. They always say that homosexuals are dangerous because of NAMBLA. Well, the two don't go hand in hand. Just because you're homosexual doesn't mean you're a member of that organization.
I understand that. Right.
That they say that the homosexuality leads to that. It could lead to that, and does oftentimes. But it's sin building on sin, and it continues to build if you don't take care of it, if you're not aware of it, and if you're openly defying the Ten Commandments and what's in the Bible, then yeah, I can see. But like I said, you're not walking down the street one day and walk into a building and decide to start worshiping being in occult circles.
No, I understand that,
but you never know.
But at the different levels of once again, when we're discussing this is at the intellectual levels that are above the general conversational aspect of things, because this also gets into when their man is trying to change the DNA structure of man, for example, change the body. There's also a part of that that's associated with occult ritualism, with demonic activity. So this does go hand in hand, and it's a topic that it's a huge and convoluted type of a topic. But I found it very interesting.
Today I talked to you early afternoon, and you said, "Joe, listen to this Tom Horn DVD. Man, we got to talk about occult symbols and occult rituals, and we got to get into this." And it's just so funny because 5 years ago, I would have never heard that come out of his mouth.
And I realize now how important it is, and I want to thank everyone who sent me emails saying, "Hey, get with the program, dog." Yeah, okay, because there is that element where you can go to Washington, D.C., and it's right before us, right in front of our very eyes. Well, how does that affect how does that affect what's going on today, right now? Well, it affects it by way of it's a continuity of agenda, and it has a lot to do with the origins of how and why and where we do things, and for what reason. So we have to understand that to understand seemingly random things. I just wanted to and it's deep. Holy cow, is it deep? And and I'm sure if Steve Quayle was on the other end of this line, he'd say, "Hey, well, good, welcome to the party." Mm-hmm. But it is when you get to a level of growth, and I'm certainly growing all the time.
You have to be.
Right.
I mean, if you're not growing, you're moving backwards, and that's for all of us.
Exactly.
You can never get to a point where you're like, okay, I learned enough, I've grown enough, I'm complete.
Right. So this growth process, and this is all part of it. So when we hear the news about things happening in New York, Los Angeles, in Egypt, and wherever this is, and especially in the Middle East, and especially now, we can put things in perspective based on the history of how the people, and even some of the framers of the Constitution, how they thought and why they did things. Yes, I mean, we had. I mean, there were a lot of. Many were Christian, but there was also an element there that had influence over certain decisions. And I reference the structure or the layout of Washington. And then I know people are going to send me emails saying, "Well, it's about
the layout of Washington. Look at the layout of the Denver International Airport. And just lost it because you can see overhead."
Okay, but do you think that they are unrelated?
No,
they're definitely not unrelated.
I mean, there's these symbols all over the place, and I mean, we'll go back to when we would work in New York all the time, and the Freemason buildings, the different buildings that even if it didn't have a Mason sign on it, you could tell because of the symbols. The parks that have all the obelisks in them, always facing the same direction with statues. There's just very weird things that travel from town to town, no matter where you are in the country. Certain things.
I want to know what's going to be happening. I don't want to. I mean, I'm not talking about predicting or prophesizing, but knowing where we are today will give us an indication, and what's taking place will give us a good indication of what's going on, or what could very well happen here in the very near future. That helps us prepare. But in order to really fully understand that, we've got to look at the path to this particular spot today. All paths that led to this spot that are relevant to this discussion. So it's kind of like I said, like a crime scene. You know, if you get a body lying on the floor, it just didn't get there. There was a lot, you know, it didn't get there. I mean, there's a lot that happened before that body. You found the body. So that's kind of the issue. I guess I'm getting for, but yeah, go ahead.
We only got a couple minutes left. Minnesota developing a GPS-based vehicle tracking system intended to introducing a vehicle tax. After a long wait, on November 28, 2012, the Minnesota Department of Transportation released 2.97 gigabytes of data from inside the development of a GPS-based vehicle tracking system intended to introduce a vehicle tax, which would entail a great deal of data constantly collected by the government on the whereabouts of everyday patterns of the taxed vehicles.
All right. Now think about that against the backdrop of Progressive Insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, seriously.
No, I know. In Progressive Insurance, from what I know, they are just what their name is.
Right, but you know the television commercials where you could put something in your car, it gives you a snap, it gives the insurance company a snapshot, and boy, you could save a lot of money. Think about that.
Oh, I know, and I was talking with my wife about that maybe a couple months ago when it came out, and she said, "What's nothing wrong with that?" I said, "You're not going to willingly put a camera in your car so you can get $10 off of insurance a month."
No,
you're putting an alien system.
It's like a black box.
Yeah, it's who knows what it can do besides take pictures. And there we have a sound gremlin on the other end again.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's customary now.
We're going to take one more call before the end of the show. Somebody in chat wants to call. Area code 419. We're coming to you. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hey guys, I'm doing this on a dare from the chat room. I'm just going to say hi to the chat room.
Yeah, I saw it in there.
We got Kristen in Texas. We got RoboMom. We got a lot of crazy people. If you guys ever watch the chat, it's like a three-ring circus in here. I mean, you get everything.
Oh, we love the chat.
Hey, okay. First of all, I'm from Ohio. All right. If you see me on there, my name's Jeremy. I'm a little off, but that's okay. But anyway,
I like your jokes.
Have you guys noticed that we got a great big we have a sinkhole forming in Ohio?
30 feet deep, 4 football feet long.
Jeremy, what did you do?
No.
What did I do?
Yeah. What did you do?
Well, they said it was fracking or something like that. Somebody said it was fracking on the story. A lot of times I'll comment whenever there's stories, and I like to see what kind of random response I get, whether it's some tree-hugging greenie or something like that. You know.
Yeah, I don't think it's fracking, but
another thing that I was going.
I just want to say this. What puzzled me about that sinkhole was that how huge it is, and it just developed overnight. It wasn't something that was small and grew to that size. They found it at football field live.
It went like across, and it closed like a 4-lane highway or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
You know? I mean, I just picked that up this morning when I got up, and I was like, all right. And people, my friends and stuff around here, they're like, well, we didn't hear anything about that. It's like, well, I guess you guys don't pay attention. But another thing that I was talking about yesterday, they were talking about, I think it might have been on Raiders News Update yesterday, and they were talking about drones.
Yes.
And they had an article on there, and they showed a little bit of film footage of this underwater like fish like drone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys even seen that or not.
Yeah, we actually talked about that, and they on the same article they showed a bunch of different mechanical drones that they have, from like dogs.
Yeah, they had one that was in like the palm of your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, mosquitoes.
Yeah, I was talking to people in the chat, and I called it RoboCart. You know, it's just, it's RoboCart. You know, it's figured you'd be trolling along and you catch something like that. It's like I fish a lot in Lake Erie from time to time, and it's like I've caught some pretty big ones, a big carp up there. But, you know, it's like it's crazy. Yeah. It's the stuff that they're just going to come up with. I mean, it's like the guy that they called in and talked about catching the Russian sub down in the Gulf a while back. I mean, that's just crazy. It's like you catch something like that, and you're not going to tell anybody about that. I don't care, but I wouldn't keep my mouth shut.
Well,
but, you know,
yeah.
Government for you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Lake Erie. We live on Lake Erie, and another listener and friend of ours from the show was with his son on a boat fishing in Lake Erie, and his son, a grown man in the military, swore he saw a triangle-shaped fish drone thing. He never said he never saw anything like it in his life. I know the guy didn't make it up.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's out there. You know, it's creepy.
Well, yeah. I mean, and then there's this.
I don't recall it.
That kind of stuff. It's like you're all of a sudden turning the channels, like on the old TV when we didn't have much cable. We just had, you know, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and then you come to the Snow Channel. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah,
but no, that's pretty much all I had to say. I mean,
wow.
Everybody, you know, dared me to call in tonight and say hi to the chat room. And nobody wanted to do it, so I figured, hey, I have the guts, so I just figured I'd call in. I think, what do I have to lose?
And I was reading that, and that's why I wanted to take your call, because
glad you did, sir. Glad you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I had another thing happen this week. I totaled my car. I got hit by this huge doe, about 185 pounds, and I told everybody that it was a drone. It was a Obama deer drone. Totally took it out.
Hey, you didn't get hurt, I take it, right? You didn't get hurt from that because
no. I mean, I'm a big guy. Okay, I just pulled over to the side of the road, got out, and went out, and the state trooper pulled up, and it was a guy that I work out the gym with, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just sitting here waiting on you guys to get here." But the thing is that these deer come straight across the road. They were both does, and there's two of them that got hit at the same time, and it was just it was weird. They just couldn't believe that I didn't get hurt.
You know what the problem is? They've got to move those deer crossing signs away from the roadways. I mean, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
They got deer.
Oh my
seriously.
Goodness. That audio. Right?
Yeah, the audio.
You heard that audio, right? The lady.
Them big time.
The lady calling into the talk show host complaining about the deer crossing signs. Have you heard that audio, Jeremy?
Somebody sent me that on my Facebook page about it, and I really didn't get watch it or anything like that. But
go check that out if you get
some of these signs that just crack me up.
Well, it's more the person in this case. I got to tell you, it's well worth the listen. Because, my goodness, just move the sign. I mean, what are they thinking, putting a deer crossing sign on the middle of the road?
The serious thing. Move the sign.
Well, I mean, it's like, okay, no offense to anybody that's blonde, but it's almost like a really bad blonde joke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean...
yeah, no, we
anyways.
Well, very good.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
hey guys,
we're up against the end of the program. We're going to cut you
90 seconds.
Good
All
weekend.
right, hey guys, God bless you. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks for the call, Jeremy.
Folks, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us and for being a part of our program tonight. We do have some interesting things lined up. We're lining up for next week and the week beyond.
Yeah,
as we approach Christmas.
If this was your first night listening to this show, we were kind of all over the place, and it's Friday. We were laid back, but we're trying different things with the structure of the show.
60 seconds.
Actually, we do have quite a few good things planned, and I just can't wait.
We have a lot of work to do, so we should get started.
Well, let's do it now.
You guys have a great weekend.
Yeah.
We will see you Monday, 8 o'clock. December 3rd is the next show day. Tomorrow's the 1st. So.
Actually, it will be on December 3rd, Monday. God bless you, folks. Have a great weekend.
Good night.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.